Micronations. As always, it is me, Emperor AP, and today I have some very, very exciting news to talk about. Thank you all so much for joining us again. I see there are 4 people live, 5 people right now in our live stream. For all of you watching this after the live stream has dropped, I really appreciate it. And today I think marks us entering a golden era of micronationalism. Now, I don't mean we're in that era right now. This is something that I really want to make sure people understand correctly. There is a huge opportunity for micronations right now. Micronationalism is starting to expand on all different social media platforms in all different avenues of society. You know, we're talking about Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. TikTok now is becoming big for micronations. This is something that has an tremendous opportunity for growth and development in this community. And we're starting to see more and more creators who are developing content around this, more and more people who are developing in their own communities, in other countries. The US for a long time has been really, really centered as the kind of focal point for micronationalism. And now more and more we're seeing other creators in other countries, other micronationalists developing communities and opportunities for this micronational sphere of influence into something amazing. Micronations are starting to reach out into the general public with their content, with their creative endeavors, and starting to build real, sincere connections that I think are going to launch this community further and further into stability and further into acceleration as we continue. So we're not in this huge golden age yet. You know, we're not seeing micronationalists becoming full-time professional micronationalists yet, but I predict that this is the precipice. We're getting to a point where micronationalists are starting to make money on a larger scale. We're starting to see more and more micronationalists making money from this. We're starting to see the community starting to rally around different organizations and different micronations. We're starting to see different micronations again reach out into the general public, which is a huge tell that there is something big going on. As well, whether you're here watching live or whether you're watching after the stream is over, definitely make sure to like the video because it helps us to continue that growth, not only spreading Aeternia and what it is that we are doing, but also spreading out the micronational community and helping to get that reaching to more people who have no idea what we're doing, why it is we're doing it, and what the purpose is. So real quick, I want to just go over micronations in general. Micronations, as we all know, a very, very basic definition is just a group of people who are unrecognized by other countries, you know, macronations as we call them, things like the US, Britain, South Africa, Australia, all of these traditional countries, for example, that are a part of the UN. All of these countries do not recognize micronations, but micronations are groups of people who, regardless of their recognition, hope to achieve that recognition, hope to start communities that can eventually be declared as independent, unique entities. Micronations are peaceful movements. Many of the times. And I think that should be the purpose and driving factor of micronationalism, is not to be conflated or confused with secessionism, not to be conflated or confused with things that we've talked about, gross concepts like sovereign citizens and stuff like that. These are people who are really trying to create positive, wholesome communities that can affect change locally for them and then grow that influence to the point where they are considered unique identities. So that being the case, we are seeing huge amounts of really, really positive change from different influencers, different micronational leaders, and different organizations in micronationalism as well that are continuing to push the envelope and make things bigger and better. So even, you know, the tradition of YAMOs being yet another micronational organization, these community organizations that never really seem to build traction, even some of them, through the success and benefits of other nations developing and progressing in this community and in the general eye of the public, are starting to hit points that are getting bigger and better for this community. So micronational organizations many times are still YAMOs. They're still going to struggle with that probably for years to come, but they're getting more and more traction slowly. I don't think there's, you know, in my mind, a truly fully successful micronational organization to the point that they are making large amounts of money or doing anything like that, but that's also difficult to say for any individual micronation as well. So of course these organizations are going to struggle. But that is something that we are reaching toward. Like that concept that YAMOs may eventually become like effective or valuable in any way is a huge telling sign that like micronationalism is moving in a crazy direction. And I think it's going to continue to grow and blow up. First off, I want to say thank you all so much. You have 9 viewers right now, 5 likes. If you guys could get us on that ratio, that 9 to 9, I would certainly appreciate it. Because one thing that I'm going to show you guys, you're not going to be able to see it right away, but I'm going to increase my screen brightness, see if I can't pull you guys in for a little, sneak preview of something for us. Yep, dropping you down really low. The visual is going to be terrible for like half a second, but I'm trying to fix it up to show you guys my screen here because, first off, 1,819 subs. Thank you guys very much. We hit 1820 the other day, and I think we're going to hit back to it again very, very soon. Look at this. Look at this. 3,747 public watch time hours. We are 53 watch time hours away from 3,800. We are 253 watch time hours away from 4,000 watch time hours. That is all we need for monetization. And you guys are helping us get that done. Theoretically, if we had 25 watch time hours of video, maybe a little bit more, we could hit that in 10 or 11 days. If we had 50 watch time hours of video and we did a video every day, we could hit that so soon. I'm talking 6-7 days. This is something that was absolutely incredible. That is a milestone for the Aeternian community personally, but as well for the micronational community. Every time a micronation hits that 4,000 and starts to get monetized on YouTube, all of the content that is actively being developed around micronations goes from the hands of YouTube monetizing it and keeping all that money for themselves and starting to go into the hands of micronationalists who are able to use it to develop their nations. So this is a huge milestone for us. We have 3 out of the 4 checkboxes required to get monetization, and all we require for this last one is just 253 watch time hours. That is a small amount in the grand scheme of things, but a big amount that we can push for right now. We can get this very, very soon, and it's all thanks to you guys jumping in the stream just like you are right now. We have 11 viewers and 6 likes. If we keep those 11 viewers for a few hours, we can have nearly 50 watch time hours today on this stream, which would throw us over, if we could get 53 watch time hours on the channel, could throw us over to 3,800. We could do that today. So thank you guys so much for being here. And again, please make sure to like the video because that's what's going to help throw more and more people into this chat and get us closer and closer to that watch time hour lickety split. So thank you guys so much for being here and doing that. But I want to talk about what this really means as a development for micronations and specifically a golden age for micronationalism. I think that now that I've started to say this term and to kind of throw this out, I haven't seen too many micronationalists throwing that term out or that concept out, but I imagine as we keep going forward, more and more micronationalists are going to throw that out. So I really want to define what it is that I mean by that and exactly why I think this is a crazy time for micronationalism. I don't want anybody to be confused. I don't want anybody to think, oh, okay, so AP is saying that like, we're all about to make a ton of money. This is all about to be some like crazy thing. AP's telling everybody to quit their day jobs. That is not at all what I'm saying. However, I think that this is again an unprecedented time for micronationalism. Again, this is something that is not at all a small step. We are seeing, especially on TikTok, this is something that I've noticed. Micronations are able to blow up really quickly on TikTok and reach other communities that are not super familiar with micronationalism. There are plenty of people who join in who either are micronationalists who are on TikTok who really support micronational TikTokers, but as well, there are plenty of people who have no idea what micronations are on TikTok, and the more prevalent we become and the more that we push into that community, the larger and larger we become as an influence on it. And I think the emergence of TikTok and the growth of TikTok, which has been happening long before micronations really started to gain traction on it, is something that is still new, still growing, and still developing. TikTok is still on like an incline and on the way up as far as its expansion as a social media platform. And we have the opportunity, micronationalists of all creeds, of all backgrounds, not just in the United States, all over the world, to really latch onto that and to be able to provide potential for growth and development for their communities. Again, this is huge. Micronationalism growing, and it's not just on TikTok, micronationalism growing as a whole in the mindset of the average public is going to be something that influences individual micronational projects in a huge way, but also influences our community. The more that more micronationalists become popular in the mainstream, the more that we can push the boundaries of what it means to be a popular micronationalist. You know, a few thousand subscribers on YouTube or on TikTok or whatever versus 10,000 subscribers on YouTube or TikTok versus 100, you know, eventually 100,000. Eventually we are going to get to the point where micronationalism is a common household phrase. It is something that people are very well familiar with and understand the concept of. They may be able to name a few micronations off the top of their head instead of maybe, you know, one out of every 1,000 people or 10,000 people or 100,000 people being able to name one micronation. You know, this is something that is becoming a large scale phenomenon for micronations. And we're not there yet. Again, we haven't hit that golden age period yet, but we're getting close. Once we start to see those micronations go from, you know, those top micronations go from a few thousand subs online or a few thousand followers online to like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, we're going to see that jump up become really, really prevalent, and it's going to happen really, really fast. So I am making this video as a historical marker right now. When that starts to happen, come back and watch this video and see, oh, AP was right. He talked about it blowing up. He talked about that there was some big news happening, because it is a progression. Again, I have been, throughout my career as a micronationalist, throughout my time developing and working on the Empire of Aeternia, as well as working with other micronations, I have seen trends in micronationalism growing and developing, especially when I first started on YouTube and started doing stuff like that. It was a time when micronations were starting to pop off again more online. Before that, there were, you know, plenty of micro-wiki articles, there were plenty of things like that, but there weren't too many micronations that were actively pushing their cause and actively going out there to try and make a statement and make a name for themselves. They were posting things online, they were connecting with other micronations, but there was kind of this stagnant period. And then all of a sudden, you know, after a year or two that I had been on YouTube, it started growing. It started, you know, people were making more content, people were developing more, people were pushing further, and then eventually it hit to the point where, you know, now there's a significant presence online of micronations, and I don't think that's going to stop at all. I think that's something that we have a huge opportunity to continue growing and developing for our community, and it's something that happens at a time where micronations are being fiercely competitive with each other. So it's incredibly exciting as a time to be a micronationalist right now, but it is also something that, again, has the potential for danger. So we think, oh, this is great news, you know, oh, micronations are in a golden age. Oh, cool, that's kind of it. Let's just stop talking about it. There is a risk to that golden age that I think people are not going to talk about. There is an inflation that can occur, just like a monetary inflation. There can be an oversaturation of micronational content, especially micronational content that is not providing a larger scale substance. So the thing that I would be really concerned about is just like any other community, you know, there are always going to be trolls. There are always going to be people, as things get more and more popular, who are going to be really gross and who, you know, become a part of that community, who are going to be really problematic for the image of that community. But as micronationalism grows, we're going to deal with the exact same problem, and you can already see that. You know what I mean? You know, people complain about Yamos. People complain about micronational warfare. People complain about violent secessionist micronations and stuff like that, or micronations who, people look down on for like intense role playing and stuff like that. I think all of these things that you may individually as a micronation, especially a realist micronation, view as a problem to your image of micronationalism and how you want that to develop is going to continue to happen in micronationalism and is only going to get worse. And the problem is that is going to start to paint the image as we get larger and larger into the public eye as to what micronationalism is as a whole. There is going to be a general consensus on what micronations are, and if we are not being able to capitalize on that, and if we are not able to really direct what that is and what it means, then sure, there are going to be a ton of problems with that. Somebody just brought up a comment that I'm reading a part of here, and it brings something that I want to talk about as well. So we've always had this problem, and I've brought it up in other streams before, of there being just too many micronations. You know, too many people are wanting to start and run micronations, and not many people are wanting to actually join micronations who understand what micronations are and have the capability to do it. There are plenty of micronationalists out there, meaning people who, are interested in developing micronations. However, 99.9% of those people, I would argue, are people who are trying to run their own micronation. They're starting one, they're developing one. Very few of those people are people who are wanting to join and develop another micronation that has already been established. And so again, you have a ton of repeat nations, which are nations that, have effectively the same concept and the same ideology that they're working with, down to maybe very, very minor differences, almost trivial differences. And yet there are like 35 repeats of basically the same structure and setup for a micronation. And so all of these micronations are pulling and prodding for the same small group of people who would be interested in joining their community, and they're not able to get much traction and much growth. This is only going to be exacerbated and make so much worse as we continue down the line of developing micronationalism. As micronations become more and more popular, as people start to get a larger and larger understanding of what micronationalism is, they're going to run into 50 micronations that look almost identical. They may have a different flag, they may have a different name, but the concept of what they're trying to do may be exactly the same. Roberts is kind of like an echo chamber. Exactly. And so this is going to become a huge stagnation for our potential growth. This is something that, once again, isn't an easy fix. This isn't something that, you can just talk about and say, oh, well, so then we're not going to do it. It's fundamental to micronationalism. People who, again, want to develop micronations are eager to do it, and they're all going to say, oh, well, I get that that's a problem 100%, but I'm not going to dissolve my micronation to join another micronation. You're not talking to me specifically, you're talking to the other micronationalists. That's a big problem. No, I'm talking directly to everyone. This is a problem, and we have to understand when to support our community and when to start working with other micronations to develop something else. Of course, you can merge micronations. There's so many different concepts for how you can actually, develop into something larger and more meaningful. But at the same time, once again, people are so, eager to hold on to their own sovereignty, their own, ability to lead their nation, that they would rather not grow at all than to actually, and to be the king of nothing, you know what I mean, than to actually develop a larger, more substantial growth for micronationalism. And here's why that becomes a big issue. So you say, oh, okay, well, micronationalism gets better or whatever. There are some people who do better. There are some people who do worse. That's kind of just a general like market dynamic, right? Like some people are going to succeed more than others. And, all the micronations that are doing the same thing aren't really going to stand out. So they're not going to succeed. It'll be those ones that are really pushing the envelope and doing the best work that are going to succeed. Well, I'll tell you where there's a huge wrench thrown into that concept: corporations. So somebody brought up corporations just a minute ago. I think it was Toxic Acid. It's good to see you, Toxic. And I wanted to bring up a point that they brought up that wasn't so toxic. The concept of it is really toxic, but it's a wonderful point that they brought up, and that is corporations. So corporations can be a huge problem for micronationalism because, of course, they can benefit micronationalism. You know what I mean? If you become successful enough, you can start partnering with corporations, for example, to run ads, for example, to do product placements and deals with those corporations, even trade negotiations with those corporations for them to supply you with specific goods and services in exchange for something that your nation can benefit them with. Businesses like to work with other businesses and organizations that they feel are successful, which is wonderful. However, when corporations start to find loopholes into micronationalism and start to use micronationalism as a guise for their own interests, just like VTubers, just like plenty of other, the gaming community, for example, the vlogging community. There have been so many YouTubers that are found out to be like corporate placements, corporate bots, corporate shills, whatever you want to call them, that are designed specifically because corporations know that they can target people who like this interest group. There are media organizations who literally create a YouTuber or an Instagram model or a Twitch streamer or whatever specifically because they know that it will work and will make them money. And so they create these huge productions to make these people successful, and then they just harvest the profit from that industry of people who are sincerely caring about individuals who are trying to pursue their passions, who are trying to grow their goals, and who are trying to achieve something wonderful. And so I think micronationalism can suffer the exact same fate if we're not very, very careful, where plenty of corporations can come in and say, we can make a micronation. That wouldn't be hard at all. You know, if this is the bandwagon, let's jump on it and let's outpace anyone else that's doing it. And corporations have a lot of money to throw toward it. So they may be the ones who are at the top of the pack. They may be the ones who are pushing for this. And the problem is that can, one, destroy the branding of micronations, because if those are the micronations that become very, very popular, we can run into an issue of people saying, hey, micronations, they're those group of people who are all like run by corporations and who want to pursue like corporate interests or whatever to further independence or whatever. Like, for example, if a corporation wanted to, skirt around a tax law, or wanted to, skirt around some ethics violations that they're going through, they could say, oh, well, we're an independent country. We don't want to do that. We're pushing for rights for independent countries, like micronations. We're all a part of the micronational community, even though they could be doing it for a morally horrible reason. So that doesn't want to, you don't want to be associated with that. Those groups shouldn't be the face of micronationalism. And that's something that could very easily happen. On top of that, that can also put us in a position where very few, if any, micronationalists who started off with the express purpose of trying to do something good and wonderful actually ever rise to the top, because they could get pushed down by these corporate interests who either say, you work with us and you become successful, or you don't and we push you down and find someone else who will. And that's brutal. That's horrible. That's something that is very reasonable to happen if micronationalism ever gets to the point where corporate interests find value in it enough to push for it. I think it's kind of about having 90% of the work done. If micronationalism gets 90% of the work done, so that a few micronations start to get close to recognition, even within, spitting distance, then all of a sudden corporations are going to jump on that. They're going to say, ooh, this is a wave that we can ride to the end. If we just throw a few more $1 million into this, or $1 billion into this, we can do it. We can achieve it. We can, get recognized. And that is horrible. They can lap us easily. Right now, we're small enough that I don't think that's something that many corporations are super interested in. Many corporate interests really feel like their investments will pay off, and it's not something that would earn them a ton of money. But once they see that potential, and once they see other micronationals starting to develop a large sum of money and a large political interest and political sway, they will jump on it and they'll start to take that over. So we have to be really, really careful of that. Again, I think the identity crisis in micronationalism is a huge one. It is one that suffers not only in the sense of our internal identity and trying to understand which micronations represent micronationalism more, and which micronations represent the general consensus of micronations less. But at the same time, that also works for external means. That also works for people who are outside of the micronational community who may want to influence us and may want to change us. Are we going to let that happen, or are we going to stick to our guns? And what does that even look like? Is a micronation that started by a business, for example, there was a beer micronation that put out an Australian beer company. I think it was Australian. It may have been a U.S. Beer company that created a micronation. It was like Beeristan or something like that, or the Republic of Beer or something. They started a branding campaign on YouTube specifically around the concept that we're a brewery and we're a micronation. And that in itself seems fairly harmless. You know what I mean? They're trying to do it as an advertising stunt. Okay, sure. But what about when it's, BP? What about when it's, Tesla or something? When some of these larger companies start to jump onto it, what about, when it's like a military contractor or something? How much will we develop to the point that this becomes a problem? How much will we be trying to, push for our own recognition that we end up buckling to a corporate interest? And is that okay that some micronations buckle to corporate interests? What is the true nature of a micronation? I think is a hard question to answer, because for the longest time this community has been so incredibly diverse. And so when we talk about a golden age of micronationalism, when we talk about micronations and how they derive success, how they build their platforms, and how they gain accurate and meaningful support, is just paying your way through that an okay way to do it, or does it take something more fundamental? What is the essence of a real micronation versus a synthetic micronation? And this is the question: is that such a thing? Fake News says, luckily for me, not as many micronations are based around the Iron Kingdom prophecy. Interesting. So I just as we continue to get toward monetization, as we continue to move forward to that, I really want to think about that concept, because this golden age of micronationalism, I think we can all see it. It's not just me. There are plenty of people who feel like, hey, micronations are doing better. Hey, how do I get my micronation up to there? How do I, start to move forward with that? It's a really, really difficult topic, and it's something that I don't think anybody's going to be able to answer right away. I just hope we're able to answer it before it's too late. And again, there's not going to be one finite answer, but we need to come together as a community to start talking about this, to start understanding what is acceptable in micronationalism and what isn't. A long time ago, we started the rules for ethical micronationalism. And the concept around that is that we were trying to get a baseline agreement from, as many micronations who would sign this agreement to support basic fundamental concepts that all micronations should adhere to. And, a completely voluntary agreement. But I think there needs to be something similar. Maybe expanding that and reintroducing it would be a good idea, just to affirm and kind of understand the concept of what is a micronation, what is the point of a micronation, and what should we be wary of in the community if all of a sudden a micronation develops out of nowhere and is, supported by $1 billion company or a multi-billion-dollar company, and is, starting to do all of these like incredible progresses for micronationalism, but at the cost of a really negative moral development. Is that okay? Is that something that we should be fine with? Is that something that we should be rejecting? What's the point of benefit there? And then where does that line get drawn? If that is too far, okay, well then what about a micronation that starts legitimately but then gets purchased by a corporation, or a micronation that starts legitimately but ends up being funded 95% by a corporation or several corporations who are specifically vying for some interest. The normal political system, especially in the US, has the same problem, which people absolutely hate and are very, very concerned about. Corporate lobbying is one of the fundamental drivers of politics in the United States and in many other countries. International corporations are incentivized to go to legitimate governments and say, hey, if you support my belief in our ability to drill for oil in coral in coral beds and stuff like that, in coral reefs. If you don't mind us creating oil pipelines through Native American reservations and stuff like that, we'll give you $1 billion for your campaign. We'll give you, $500 million for your campaign. We will give you, extra benefits and perks on top of that. All of which I think in some periods of different nations' histories have been crimes to do, but are now just very openly understood as a part of the game. Are we doing that? Is that something that is par for the course for micronations as well? And this is really a question that we need to answer. Entering into a golden age, entering into something that is going to fundamentally change the face of micronationalism is amazing, but it is something that we have to really consider deeply. Is this a problem? Are we ready? Are we mature enough as micronations to enter into a golden age? We can't stop it, but we better grow up pretty quick. And that's my big concern. This announcement 100% is a celebration. I am, grinning ear to ear. I am, wanting to jump up and down and freak out in excitement because of how wonderful this is for the community. This is something that, again, as I've been pushing for years and years in developing Aeternia in this community, I have been hoping for. And I've been eager to work with other micronations who are developing. But at the same time, and we have worked with other micronations who now we're seeing a lot of these things pay off for. But it becomes a huge question of, is this okay? Is this sustainable? Is this reasonable for us to continue going along this route where micronations are more or less just anything? And I'm not saying we should gatekeep micronationalism either, because I've been a strong proponent against that for a long time. It, the Empire of Eternia, for example, when asked if we are going to recognize a micronation, we always respond with the same thing, which is, if you consider yourself a micronation, we recognize you. We have no, authority or interest in gatekeeping the micronational community. So we don't need treaties of recognition. We don't need to say, okay, well, these are the micronations that we legitimately recognize, and these are micronations that we don't think are real nations. That's horrible. That's not appropriate, because there are going to be plenty of micronations who are just small, who are just people who are starting out, who are people who may have different ideas than you or beliefs than you, and those people shouldn't be barred from access to your niche in the micronational community just because you decided with the wave of a hand that they're not important enough. But at the same time, how much can we go out of our way to speak out against other micronations? This is something that, again, is a very, very controversial topic. There are plenty of micronations that would say, you stay out of other micronations' business. You don't, interfere with other micronations. You don't speak ill of other micronations. You focus on your internals. And that's respectable to a large degree. But at the same time, what about when these things start to become human rights issues? What about when these things start to become, really, really politically abhorrent? What about when these things start to become large-scale problems? Of course, the micronational community is so diverse that you're always going to be running into groups of people that you think their opinions are just trash and that you don't like them, and you think they're developing the world and pushing for a world that you would hate to see developed into fruition. But at the same time, they have the right and ability to do that. They have the right and ability to talk about their politics, and I encourage that they do. The problem is that it helps our community to grow and to develop as a well-rounded system. But the problem is that you start to get to this point where money talks, and it talks really, really well. So of course, we as micronations want to pursue monetary gains as much as possible, like we're trying to do with hitting watch time. But at the same time, when we're pushing for this, is it okay for another group to come in with millions of dollars already in their pocket from other interests, from outside development, and to say, yeah, we're just gonna, steamroll past all of that. We're just gonna, become the number one micronation in the world because we just threw money at it. Is that okay? Manu says, what you're saying about corporations kind of reminds me of Slowjamistan. That's something that I brought up in another video that, again, I'm still kind of uncertain on. Slowjamistan seems like an alright group, but I also don't know their final goals. So I can't really speak on too heavily, what Slowjamistan is or what their purposes are, but they do come from a corporate background. They do come from a group of people who, already were developing a specific industry prior to their interests. So the question is that okay? If they, for example, may be pursuing completely noble goals, they may say, hey, the reason that we're doing this is because we are trying to, develop housing for the poor, or we're trying to develop, more increased development for, free speech, or for, climate change, funding for that. Whatever it is, if they have a really noble goal, is that okay for a corporation to come and develop a micronation as long as they're doing the right thing? Is it not okay at all? Should it never, should a corporation never come in and develop that? I think there's going to be a line somewhere in between where, this is always going to be something I think that feels a little bit concerning, but we should really look at on a case-by-case basis to try and determine whether it is something that is appropriate. And I think the actions of that nation, the actions of the way that these people run and develop a nation, are going to need to be watched like a hawk. Because if these people are treating a micronation, and I'm not just talking about Slowjamistan, I'm talking about any group or corporate entity that decides to develop a micronation from a pre-existing organization, the question has to become, are they doing it the right way? Are they legitimately trying to develop a nation, or are they just using the guise of developing a nation to further another pre-existing cause that they have, like developing their corporation, like advertising. You know what I mean? Again, I think with that beer company that developed their thing, it was pretty obvious they were just advertising, right? Like they're not necessarily sincerely developing a country and trying to push for its development. They made that advertisement years ago and have not followed up with it. They have not, continued to post a whole bunch of stuff about their beer nation. They have not, tried to help out their beer citizens with their beer economy. This is something that becomes quite a problem as you start to look at it. Whereas Slojamistan, they are doing more. You can clearly tell that, like, they're posting more on social media, they're engaging more with their citizens. A lot of their things are very jokey. They specifically have a humorous twist to them. But this is something that also is a question in micronationalism. Aeternia has a silly tint to it to some extent. A lot of our previous videos, for example, we were mocked by Stamaria because our content was too silly. It was, unserious. It was unprofessional, as they called it. And that's something that really throws up a question. Is that okay in micronationalism? Is that something that we're going to define what good and bad micronations are with? So I can't declare, oh, this is why Slojamistan is good or bad, or this is why that beer micronation is good or bad, or this is why Aeternia is good or bad, or this is why Stamaria is good or bad. It's just that we have to open these questions up to the community and start to determine for ourselves what that means to us. When you think about a micronation, when you think about your ideas for development, what does that look like? And how do these micronations play more or less into your ideal hope for what the micronational community develops into? There are some people who have a very, very libertarian view of micronationalism and say micronationalism is about expanding the rights of all individuals regardless of what their intent to do with those rights are. So, for example, a corporation would be a wonderful example for those people. And they may say it's a really good thing that corporations are becoming involved because the problem that they have with traditional government is government overreach. I'm personally not a libertarian, and that's not the view that I ascribe to. But those people, I think, would say this is wonderful, and this is a great example of how micronations are able to help the world by including private business putting private business in the driver's seat of developing communities and economies, and that's and policy for governments. Again, that's not the belief that I ascribe to, but those people would be very on one side of it and saying, anyone who wants to develop a micronation should do it, and they should do it in a way that seeks the most growth over, the most ethics, for example. On the other side, you would have people who, for example, have a very communist view or a very socialist view of micronationalism, which, again, I feel like I'm lean more toward, but I'm not all the way at the extreme of either. There are certainly cases in my mind that can be kind of in between, but I think if you were to talk to somebody who very, very has a very strict socialist or communist view of micronationalism, they would say, oh, well, micronationalism should be based around the freeing of people from corporate greed. It should be the empowerment of people over a capitalist society, and one that breaks down their rights for the promotion of capitalist achievement and for monetary gain. People should be able to build these grassroots societies that help them to achieve a fundamental level of stability from their continued growth and development, and allow them to build a framework that prevents, the um, the uh, abuses or the manipulation that comes with being forced into living in a capitalist society. The amount that you have to depend on and rely on your employer, for example, for things like reasonable and affordable healthcare, for things like um, for uh, the ability for a consistent wage, for things like specific perks and benefits of your job. Those are things that, and even just job security, the ability to remain employed and remain feeding your family. When those things are attached to your job, those are very concerning. So for some people, they would say, no corporations at all should be able to start micronations, and micronations should be only for the freeing and preserving of the people's ability to, seize the means of production, so to speak, and stuff like that. So I think uh, this is something that Aeternia itself has to take a strange stance on, because we can't be on fully one side or fully the other. And I know that plenty of people are going to feel the same. I think, I have spoken out against centrism as well before, where, if you are leaning too far to one side or the other, but you're staying in the middle, you are really just propping up one side. You're really just, allowing yourself to have the needle moved more and more to whichever side pulls you harder. So the question is, when are things appropriate? What is okay, and how can we start to draw a significant line in the sand that isn't going to be something that just moves the goalpost every few years? You know what I mean? If we do say, okay, corporations are fine to develop micronations, and that's something that's naturally going to happen, so we should just accept it, then in that case, okay, sure. But we say, oh, but they have to adhere to certain aspects of micronationalism that other micronations do. They have to have a vested interest in their citizens. They have to have a, sincere and regular track record of development. They have to, have a specific timeline and goal list planned out so that people can understand what it is that they're trying to do and how they're trying to achieve it. They have to have a limited tie to their corporate interests. So, they can't just be doing it to specifically promote and boost the previous corporate structure that developed the micronation in the first place. I think those are all fairly reasonable and consistent guidelines, but the problem is each of those also have their own interpretations that you can go with. And if we develop the micronational community in a way that we are doing with, traditional macronational governments, then those things are going to be subject to interpretation for a long time, and people on both sides will argue what the definition of a lot of those terms are so that they can further their agenda. Oh, well, this company is developing a micronation, and they are doing so for the purpose of preserving, enhancing the rights and benefits that their workers have. So yeah, sure, they're developing this housing and they're doing all this stuff, but they're doing so with all of the labeling and branding. They're effectively making company towns, where these workers come to live, and they are subject specifically to only purchasing things from their company, to having their wages go directly into spending for their company, who are doing things like that. And so, we may say, okay, well, that's, that technically hits all the boxes, but is that moral? Is that okay? This will happen to become a more nitty-gritty, more nuanced and detailed discussion as time goes on. And the problem is, again, I think we have to start having this discussion. This is going to be one that's very hard and is at the fundamental nature of micronationalism itself. So this is something that is always going to be fought over and is always going to be, worked at. But if we don't start pushing for it, if we don't start trying to define it now, then there is lawlessness. Then there is this unfiltered concept of micronationalism, which again, to some degree, people may really, really enjoy, and people may, see as the pure state of micronationalism or whatever. But it leads to this concept where eventually there may be plenty of actors out there, plenty of micronations that develop who are not supporting the best interests of micronationalism and who aren't sincerely concerned about how well micronationalism does. They are only concerned with riding the wave of micronationalism. And I think in my mind, that is the larger concern, and that's the larger question. Where I think a lot of my morals stand on this issue as to how this golden age affects what micronations are and which micronations, are considered truly beneficial to our cause of growth and development of these human rights, and which are against it and which are hurting it, or who is riding the wave, who's bandwagoning and who's not. That's the larger question. I think, you know, a lot of these corporate interests that you will see, the place where they start to become a problem is when you see that they are only bandwagoning. They are doing things specifically for the purpose of making more money, specifically for the purpose of, you know, developing the corporate structure that they funded the micronation with. When the micronation is seen as a front for corporate expansion, that becomes a huge problem. But when you see the micronation as its own unique entity, as something that is running and flourishing regardless of the nature and purpose of its corporate, developer, that is where you start to see a true micronation forming. You know, when that micronation has more and more independence, when it has more and more ability to act independently of whichever foundation it came from, that's when you start to see a micronation take on a life of its own, and that's really the benefit that we see from micronationalism as a whole. That's where we see these communities really offering something to micronationalism more than just money, more than just, you know what I mean, a name to write on the list of names who consider themselves micronations. That is when we see real progress for the community. So in my mind, that is what really holds tight to what it is are the benefits and values of a micronation developing, and what it is that helps me to guide my understanding of what is a moral micronation or an ethical micronation and one that isn't. Are they a bandwagoner? And that's something that I want to talk about as a whole nother video. But Robert says the two biggest debates. Absolutely. Manu says, hey, Toxic says that was one of the examples I was going to use, actually. Absolutely. Raz says, what's happening? We're talking about a golden age in micronationalism and all of the fun problems that come with it. Just like you guys know on this channel, we always like to bring up exciting stuff that's happening in micronationalism, and I'm always going to be the bearer of bad news, explaining to you why there are so many problems with it. It's not that these things can't be overcome, but just like any pursuit, just like any human endeavor, as we continue to climb the mountain, as we continue to push for our larger goals and opportunities, we are going to have more and more obstacles in the way, and those obstacles are going to get harder and harder to climb. Those obstacles are going to require more and more of us, and they're going to require new skills altogether that we never had to develop in the first place. And what I'm concerned about is that some of these issues, some of these obstacles we have to overcome are existential to what micronationalism is. And if we aren't able to start discussing them now and start preparing for them, they are huge leaps that we're going to have to jump on, effectively a leap of faith. And if we're not careful, they could swallow micronationalism whole. Micronationalism could become something that we do not want it to be at all, simply because we were unaware enough to develop defenses for it and to develop a mindset to protect ourselves against it. So again, I don't think we should live in fear of, all these micronations are against us and all these micronations aren't going to be, supporting the best interests of micronationalism, because that's how severe gatekeeping happens. That's how really problematic communities develop. Saying our vision of micronationalism is the right one and everyone else's is the wrong one. But on the flip side, we should be wary. We should be understanding and looking out for the signs that tell us that a micronation, an individual one, not based on, specifically a government structure, not based on specifically a religion, not based on specifically, a foundation and reason for being founded, but more so the activities that a micronation pursues and its individual goals and interests that lead us to determining whether it is beneficial for our community or not. We need to be able to look out for the signs. We need to be able to start watching out for these things, and we need to support the communities that we know are actively trying to vie for micronationalism that helps the rest of us. So making sure that we know that we're placing our funding and our support in places that are going to help to feed us is really crucial. And to feed the right type of micronationalism is really crucial. So again, bearer of bad news of the twist, and I hope you guys appreciate that. I hope this is something that's beneficial for you, because it's something that dawns on me. Every once in a while when we'll have one of these streams like this, I'll be setting up the stream, or I'll be hanging out the day before, or even in a previous stream, and we'll talk about something and it'll hit me, and I'll say, oh man, this is something that we have to talk about because it's coming and we're not prepared for it. There are so many micronations that I see who have either never brought these concepts up before, or if they have brought these concepts up, do so in such a lackadaisical way that it's almost not worth mentioning. I think it is really important that we take deep dives into some of these issues to really figure out what it is that we are as a community. Also, we have 10 likes, 13 viewers. Thank you guys for liking. If you do like, it helps us a ton. I said 10 likes, 13 viewers. I meant the other way around. We have 10 viewers, 13 likes. Now we have 9, but it still means a lot if you like the video. It helps us to reach out to a larger audience. Raz says, I wish I had gold. We missed out though. I don't know about that. Why do you say you miss out? Robert says, echo chambers lead to war. Absolutely. And not just to war, they lead to larger conflicts within our community. I saw somebody like the video. Thank you so much for that. Even if they don't lead to like micronational war, I think they lead to larger problems like the concept that micronationalism, when approached by somebody who doesn't understand it at all, feels like an oversaturated, gross vie for power. Like it seems like something where people are coming into it and bombarding you with pamphlets saying, oh, you should join my micronation. It's like the last 4 micronations you've heard about, except we have a swimming pool. Like we're like the last 4 micronations that you've heard of, except for don't believe in we don't believe in taxes or whatever. You know what I mean? Like changes that are significant, but on the whole of things, as we continue to develop, are not productive. Are really detrimental to the face of micronationalism. Again, for people who are just encountering it for the first time. If people encounter a very diverse range of micronations, that's wonderful. But if they encounter an oversaturated group of people who have very similar ideologies, they're not going to be super enthusiastic about joining or developing any one of them. At a certain point, that may lead to an even worse exacerbation of the problem, where they go, you know what, all of these micronations are very cool, but they're all very similar, and I really don't like any of them. I have a great idea. I'll start a micronation, and it'll be just like all these other ones, but it'll have my specific little twist on it. And that way I don't have to worry about all the problems that these other ones have. I can focus on mine. And that leads to even worse situations for all of those micronations, including the new one that just started out. So again, I think part of these problems that we're discussing is seeing a way for micronations to actually consolidate and actually pull other micronations into their sphere of influence, or more specifically, finding ways for micronations to join together to become one thing. That's really hard. Again, the Aeternian model for that is disbanding micronations and actually saying, hey, if you feel like you want to make a larger change on something, but you see a micronation that is very similar to you, but much more successful than you should try to join that micronation. You should take your efforts if you feel like they are not as expansive as you would like, and you should join that other micronation and support 100% that group, because you will make much more of an impact doing so in supporting that community than you ever could have by yourself in your own micronation. And that goes for all micronationalists. You know what I mean? The more that we can work together, the more that we can pool our resources to push together to projects that have the time and ability to do more is going to be crucial. And again, this becomes an issue with corporations, because like we just talked about a minute ago, if you're looking around for a micronation that's similar to yours but has more resources so that you can join them and pursue their goals, and the next biggest one is a company that started a micronation and says, hey, we have a ton of money, yeah, just come work for us and we'll just pay you to be a micronationalist like you wanted, and you'll be in a leadership position, you'll help to develop the micronation, you just have to do what we say for our corporate interests. Is that a problem? Is that a concern? Is that something that we as micronations should push away from? Or is it a great sign because we're, seeing micronationalists become professional at it? These are the questions. Toxic says there's a lot of micronations that use somewhat underhanded business tactics, which are very high up in the microwiki community, and such, and it's pretty awful to see the same cycle of awfulness. Can you describe toxic? I'd be really curious to hear like what specific examples of this are. I'm curious. Robert says, I'm Robert. Hey, it's good to see you, Robert. Onyx says, Manu brings a good point. And then Manu says, no, Onyx has been kidnapped. Connor says, gotta go, bye. Good to see you, Connor. Thanks for hanging out with us. Robert says, MicroWiki is kinda, I don't know. What do you mean, Robert? Raz says, Telsania, how are you? Hello, are you new? Telsania, I think, has been in the last couple streams, but they're fairly new to the channel, absolutely. Connor said, bye, everyone. Um, Tausania says, yeah, I am new. It's good to see you, Tausania, and thank you for supporting us. I believe Tausania came from our TikTok, which is wonderful, and I appreciate you guys helping us. We hit over 200 TikTok followers pretty recently, and I'm super hype about that as well. We need to get to 1,000 in order to live stream on TikTok, which, from what I understand, offers a lot of opportunity and potentially some monetary opportunity as well. So it would mean a lot for us to be able to get to that. We are 2/10 of the way there. We're a fifth of the way there. So we're moving forward. Robert says Republic of Domino's Pizza. Exactly. These could be potential concerns. Raz says, what's your Micronation about? Tausania says, always good to watch an Aeternia stream. Thank you, Tausania. Eternia forever. It means a lot. Uh, oh, goodness. Robert said Republic of Tesla and then said Republic of Blackwater. Exactly. These are questions. Raz says Trade Federation of Tesla. Exactly. And people are joking, but it's all these jokey names, but it's something that's really concerning. Like it's something that I don't know if people have put enough time or effort into thinking about. Robert says by that point micronations will be a joke. And that's the concern, Robert, is that there are people who are really sincerely trying to do this and push for micronationalism as much more than that, as something that can be a real change-making community in this world and can become something unique to all the world. And I feel like there are potentials, there are great filters for micronationalism, which could absolutely crush our hopes of that. And we have to keep pushing beyond them. We have to find ways to overcome. And we have to start early so that we don't miss the boat and accidentally fall apart because we weren't prepared. Toxic says, I think a really cool micronation, and in my opinion, the perfect micronation would be one like I'm trying to do, where I own a lot of land and can put in trailers for a small neighborhood I basically own. Sure, toxic, and that's wonderful. But here's the question: are you going to do like a lot of landlords do? There are plenty of situations where people do exactly the same thing without owning a micronation at all, where they'll say, "Hey, I'm going to develop a community. I'll purchase a piece of land and put a lot of trailers, like a trailer park, or a lot of homes, like a subdivision." And they'll say, "Cool." And then I'm going to have these people come in, and they're either going to buy the lots and pay me a mortgage, and eventually pay off the lot, or they're going to rent it. And then every year, because rent prices increase, I am going to, increase the rent of these people until some have to move out and some are upset and they leave. And I continue to make more and more profit off of it. A lot of landlords, justify this by saying, "Oh, well, the value of land's going up everywhere. Oh, well, that's the market demand for land." But the problem is, the amount of land on the earth stays relatively the same constantly, or even decreases some because of the concept that the erosion, for example, of the coast makes the amount of square footage of water outside of the land, or land outside of the water, land above the water, decreasing dramatically. So every year we have less and less land in many places on the earth, and yet uh, there is a growing population, a very large growing population. So it's a problem where if we continue to increase rent prices, sure, yeah, it makes sense because logically, according to the market, that means an increased demand for the land, which means an increased demand for rent. So rent should keep jumping up, right? But it also means that a smaller and smaller percentage of people on the earth are able to afford to live somewhere. It means that they will become homeless, and it is not incentivized for the market for any landowner to decrease their prices, because then they're not competitive with other landowners. So they're losing money. So they're struggling to support themselves and their families. So micronations have the opportunity to do something interesting where they're providing land and housing for people under the assumption that that's not where they make their money from. They make their money from other industries, and that they use to pay that out as a cost of doing business, as a cost of living for supporting a community and a group of people. That's what Aeternia is doing. Aeternia, as we continue to develop our land, want to offer free housing to our citizens. So that way, portions of their paycheck, whether they come from Aeternia and working directly for us as a employee, or whether they are working for some other business outside of Aeternia in the US, for example, they can still come back and know that they won't have to spend a dime on their rent, that their living condition is not dependent on how much money they can make, and making sure that they keep above a certain amount every single year. Sure, we could have rent prices, and sure, that would make us a lot more money in the long run, but that's not what is important. That's not what is ultimately the end goal of what we're trying to do. If we are constantly every year evicting citizens from Eternia because they can't afford the Eternian lifestyle, because they can't, afford to live in a place where rent prices keep increasing, then I'm no better than the people that I'm leaving the apartments that I left recently to be able to pursue land of my own. That's the entire thing that we've been fighting against. So it's a ruthless cycle and it's a brutal system, but trying to understand it and trying to find solutions around it is something that we have to try and do as micronations, in my opinion. Um, uh, so Onyx says, yeah, Robert says, and military contractors, why would Blackwater or Wagner have a micronation? Why would they? Because it gives them even more legitimacy. You know what I mean? A lot of these military contractors would go around and fight for different groups, and would do so with relative impunity around the world. But even then, these companies can still face international backlash because they are associated with one country or another in particular, have to be subject to those laws. So a lot of the time, the way that international courts will work is they will start with the laws of the nation that they are founded in, that the company is considered to be based out of. And they will say, hey, if you broke a law from that country, then you are breaking, then clearly you're in violation, and you're also in violation of international law. So that's how they start to create a linchpin and a way to reduce the violence that some of these groups are doing, and reduce some of the problems that, excuse me, and to reduce some of the problems that they're causing around the world is to, pursue which laws they are breaking potentially in their home countries. However, if those military contractors are able to say, hey, we're a recognized country in and of ourselves, we get to make our own laws, and we say we can go into any country and start to cause any problems we want without any backlash here at home, we in fact are encouraged to do so, then it makes a very difficult situation for those international courts, because are you going to, overstep a country's ability to self-govern in order to justify your own international law, which would be doing a similar thing that these military contractors would be doing to other countries, violating their rights. So it becomes a toss-up. That is a huge ability for a military contractor to act in a more legitimate way, because now they're not mercenaries, they are actually regimented official armies, which would be difficult. Toxic says, but also on top of that, like a militia of some kind with means to defend itself. I disagree with that, Toxic. I don't think micronations should focus on militaries at all, or militias or anything like that. Whitewind says, let's go, I actually made it in under an hour. Thank you so much, Whitewind. It means a lot that you're here, and I'm super glad to have you here. As well, we're at 1:14 p.m. in the chat. That's the chat that I'm reading right now, even though it's like 1:51 p.m. here. I said a.m., I think, a minute ago. p.m. So I am like 50 minutes behind chat. I will continue to move forward to look at more chat in just a second. Raz says, I want to buy enough land to build housings and buildings, make a village. Absolutely. Manu says, I found the beer micronation. Exactly. Raz says, oh, it's called Brewland. Yep. Has Brewland been doing anything, recently at all? Raz says, I gotta take a shower. Was working outside earlier, and, Florida heat and humidity. 100%. Good luck, Raz. Let us know if you can jump back on. Raz says, I'll leave the stream for going for watch time hours. Thank you so much. Again, trying to hit that 3,800. We can do it today. Onyx says, fellow Floridian, you know it. Toxic says, first beer micronation. Yep. These are the problems. Raz says, was a Washingtonian before. Hey, very cool. Tausania says, you need to publicize your nation first and get it out to the world. Makes sense. Toxic says, we should meet as Florida micronations. Don't mind my micronation is Louisiana based that I'm only visiting. Got him. Raz has noticed for privacy reasons. I won't say, Max, for privacy reasons, I won't say where I am. Toxic says, I think a good amount are mature enough, but there's a lot who aren't. I understand that. And what I meant by maturing in the micronational community is not necessarily saying, oh, these are like immature, like jokey nations. I'm saying micronationalism being mature as a concept. Micronationalism developing more. Having more preparation for things that we haven't dealt with before, like, for example, corporate micronations. Onyx says, my nation takes a good chunk of South Florida. Raz says, though I will say it's been raining every day for the past week. Some of my property's flooded. Oh, goodness. Be careful. Robert says, oh, bot. And then Raz says, the frogs love it and keep me awake at night. Makes sense. Then you've got some cool frog buddies with you on your land. Robert says, I have a plan. Hit me up, Robert. I'm excited for your plan. Toxic said, there's many parts of micronationalism which some micronations gatekeep. Absolutely, but they shouldn't. Robert says, give out micronations independence. Oh, give all micronations independence. That'd be crazy. It would be crazy, but at the same time, I don't think it's realistic. It maybe, but I think it'd be difficult. Raz says, or I couldn't be. Who knows? They're memeing and joking back and forth. Raz said he's gonna go take a shower. Sounds good. Fake name says, I'm in an alliance with a person I strongly disagree with, but still happy to be in the alliance with them. That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that, fake name. And I think for Cusnaria, that's a good idea. It gives you different perspectives and it helps a lot. The problem is you need to make sure that that's not a hate group. That's one thing that's really concerning. A lot of people will do stuff like that. Like we had somebody who joined the other day who was talking about their friend who was doing stuff and who was a part of some group and was describing more and more, and it sounded to me like it was a hate group, like that person was developing, like they were talking about like Aryan stuff and things like that. Like it sounded like a white supremacist hate group, and so it was a real problem. And I would really heavily suggest that. Like if you're in an alliance, if you're supporting different micronations, that's wonderful. If if you have disagreements, that's fine. But when it extends to the point where it's disagreements on something that's like fundamental human rights, and that person becomes like more and more a hate group, you cannot in any good conscience like stay in an alliance with them, because then that just means that your micronation condones hate groups and condones the activities of hate groups, which is a whole mess of yarn in and of itself. It's a whole problem to get tangled up with, and I would say you'd want to back out as hard as you can. Tassania says, hey AP, have you heard of the micronation Christoria? I don't think so. Tell me more about them. Robert says, if a nation's claims all the Midwest, like Fort Woodchuck, real place, and there's other nations there which there is, then which there is. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think micronations have a lot of problem with that because they'll claim a really large swath of land, thinking that there aren't a ton of micronations around, and then there'll be other micronations who are like, no, I'm actually inside your claim, and I do not recognize your claim. So this is something that micronations who do make really large land claims, which I don't support, but those that do quickly, I think, run into that problem of realizing that there are other micronations who may have overlapping claims with them, and whose claims are much more reasonable than theirs. Toxic says, I mostly go into alliance with people I agree with, not to gatekeep, but I just find that I actually work better with someone I agree with. No, and that's different, right? So saying that you're going to join an alliance with someone you agree with isn't gatekeeping. That's supporting your interests. Gatekeeping specifically would be saying that that person is not a micronation, or saying that they shouldn't be allowed to like talk to people, or that they shouldn't be considered serious, or that people should not support them or not help them, or should ostracize them, or should kick them out of the community. That's kind of gatekeeping. Saying you don't get to talk to us and associate with us is gatekeeping. Saying, we don't want to enter into something more official with you, like an alliance, because we don't think that there's enough mutual interest there to benefit, is perfectly reasonable. Condemning micronations, for example, is gatekeeping. That's something that has happened to us before, and again, it's something that really is problematic. Micronations shouldn't gatekeep one another. They shouldn't be trying to remove each other from the community, but they can certainly say, an alliance I don't think is beneficial at this time. Gorth says, hell nah, not Christoria. Hey, Gorth, what's up? Also, what's happening with Christoria? I've never heard of it before. Micronation says, I want his opinion, LMAO. I don't know what it is. You have to inform me. Robert says, okay, it's sent. Very cool. Toxic says, one of the shows I made, which broadcast my Micronation, got a level 3 Discord server boost from like 10 people. Hey, congrats. Robert says, beer economy would really boom if there was prohibition. Absolutely. Toxic said, but also people would be going to jail from that micronation. Toxic said, I think micronation shouldn't be all serious. I mean, are all nations serious? No, look at influencers and memes. Wouldn't exist if it were all serious. I 100% agree, Toxic. Toxic says, to me, I think of micronations need a bit of meaning. 100% agree, just like every community. Tassania says, Christoria about Toxic's comment. Oh, what? Tassania says, I agree, Toxic. Gore says, huh? Toxic said, dub. Gore said, oh yeah, I do as well, Toxic. Robert says, an example of a libertarian micronation was the Republic of Minerva. I agree with that. Tausania says, Christoria is quite strict, doesn't joke around much, quite serious. Oh, is that a meme or is that legitimate? Robert says, save it, Onyx. Onyx says, Onyx Land is very free and we are actively interacting with our peeps. That's awesome. Robert says, Minerva also almost calls the war actually libertarian utopia, they claim. Oh, goodness, that's concerning. Tassania says, I agree, AP, thank you. Robert says, r/anarcho-capitalism is very far right. Oh, absolutely, I imagine so. Onyx says, I've been really peaceful for only 11 days. But that's awesome, though. I'm glad to hear that you've been peaceful, Onyx. Robert says they're not anarchists. Makes sense. Robert says r/anarcho-capitalism literally says ban gay marriage, abortion, and contraceptions, which go against freedom. Absolutely. And also go against anarchism, because, like, who's going to ban it? You know, the government? Oh, interesting. That's not very anarchist of you. Robert says, not to mention how they say the U.S. Ought to be divided by a bunch of company towns. Oh, goodness, gross. Like one person said they should sell the multiple states to private companies. That's gross. Like states should be the huge bidders. That's also not anarchism either. Besorbia Bessarabia says hi. Hey, what's up, Bessarabia? It's good to see you. Robert says, and Congress should be a Congress of corporations. Gross. Onyx says hi. Hey, what's up, Onyx? Vincent says hi. I'm packing my room, so I'm so stressed since I didn't get time to take my bed desk apart. Congratulations, Vincent. So it sounds like things worked out with the purchase. Let me know how things go. Toxic said, thinking of micronational esports tournament. Hey, that sounds awesome. Fig Name says, in about 1 to 1.5 years, I'll be giving my steward regency as I will reach military age and will be enlisting in the U.S. Special Forces as a sort of last act of patriotism before I commit fully to my, I guess he's going to say country, micronation. Yep, congrats, and that's awesome. I think that's one thing that is really misunderstood about micronationalism, right? Like, micronations and micronationalists should be patriotic toward their countries. You know what I mean? I consider myself proud to be a United States citizen. I'm not planning on revoking my United States citizenship. I have a ton of disagreements with the way that things go in the United States, but at the end of the day, I really love the people here, and I'm really proud to be in the United States and, you know, to be trying to affect change for the people that I care about here. So I think it's important for us to recognize that micronationalists shouldn't be, you know, connected to secessionists or any kind of radical extremists, because that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to make legitimate, effective change through governmental means to achieve positive action for our communities. And so as we continue to push forward, I think we really need to stress that as one of the foundational principles of micronationalism. Just saying, hey, we are here to help. We are here to grow. We are here to benefit the communities that we're a part of. And we can't do that if we're considering ourselves, you know, really militaristic. We can't do that if we're considering ourselves secessionists. We can't do that if we're considering ourselves, you know, to be extremist in any way. We have to be trying our best to push for reasonable, appropriate change where it counts, and trying to do that by pulling our community up through grassroots efforts, political campaigns. Robert says, AP, from 1 to 10, how am I as a viewer, support, and channel member? Hey, I appreciate the question, Robert. That's a great question. I would say so pretty high. Like I don't know all of your habits as a viewer, but I would say you're probably over five. I would say probably the 7 to 10 range, because you're almost always in the chat. You know, you're always hanging out with us. I believe you always like the videos, which helps a ton. Sometimes I see you commenting on like previous videos that we've done before, which means a ton. Again, that means you're giving us extra watch time. The only thing that keeps you from that 10, I think, is two things. Not a ton of people actually share our content on their social media, which is something that really helps us out a ton. Just almost as much as watching these streams, because if you can get just a few more people to click on and watch our stuff, especially people who don't normally do it, that means to the algorithm that you're sharing it more. That means to the algorithm that more people are interested in it and interested enough to actually share it, that they're really passionate about it. And so then YouTube goes out of its way to share that with more people who may not have seen the content in the first place, or who may not be associated with that. So it really helps us to get a larger, more diverse audience, and it helps us to reach beyond the micronational community into the general populace. So that's a big one, and I'm not sure how much you do that. You may be doing that, and if you do, correct me, and I'll jump up your score. And then as well, the final one is playing our streams, even when you're either when we're not online or when you have to go. A lot of time people will go and say, "Hey, okay, I'm leaving, goodbye," and then they won't do the thing like a lot of people do, which has actually been helping us to get to this near 3,800 point, where people will just play our streams on repeat. When you play our streams on repeat, or when you play it when you walk away to do something else, or if you're playing it like a podcast while you're gaming or doing whatever, the more hours that you spend watching one of our streams, even if it's just half an hour, even if it's an hour, whatever, beyond when you would normally participate actively in the stream, that helps us a ton. It helps us to go from and liking the videos and stuff like that, sharing it, of course. But that helps us to go, at a multiple of watch time hours, even when we're not streaming. Again, that helps YouTube to say, hey, they're more popular, we're going to share their content more, which means more watch time hours. It's an avalanche, it's a snowball effect. So that would be the thing that bars you from a 10, but you may be doing that. And if you are doing that, please let me know. But for anyone out there who really wants to know, like, Aeternia has been pushing at this for so long, like almost 4 years on YouTube, almost 6 years as a micronation. How do we get them just over this hill already? They need to hit 4,000 already. What are they doing? That's what it is. Being able to, keep pushing just that little bit more, doing that little bit extra on your end can make a huge difference. You have no idea. So it means a lot. It means a lot just to have one extra person here. I see we went from 7 viewers to 8 viewers. Now we're back down to 7. That one viewer means a ton to us. Again, it means a multiple of our watch time hours on this video for every single second that they are in. Right now, our watch time hour thing is multiplied by 7 because there are 7 viewers in here. So for every second we go, we're actually getting 7 seconds of watch time hours. If we got up to 10, then we'd be getting 10 seconds of watch time hour. So in 6 seconds of actual video, at 10 viewers, we would be getting a minute of watch time hour, watch time hours, which would help us a ton. At every minute, we at every 6 minutes, we would be getting an hour of watch time. So that can really, really do a number for our growth and can help us to achieve stuff that we have no earthly ability to achieve just on our own. You guys really are the backbone of Aeternia. You guys really are the fundamental driving force for what we are able to do, because these streams are the things that have been able to elevate us and to continue our growth. You following along and learning with us as we continue to develop has been the thing that I have hoped and dreamed for this community for the longest time. I don't know what I'm doing all the time. I'm trying to learn new things all the time. I'm trying to educate myself on how to be a better micronationalist, a better politician, a better social media manager, a better physicist, a better engineer, all the time. And every single step that I take on that is a step that you guys can take with me, and a step that you can teach me. So you watching this, you supporting us helps a ton. Again, now going back up to 8, that's another multiplying factor for us. So it is a huge, huge thing that you guys are able to support us and be here for us. Going up to 9, again, a huge multiplying factor for us. Those things change the game for us and make it to where I have a little bit less stress on me every day. Getting up and saying, "Ooh, I hope this time our watch time hours didn't plummet. I hope this time we didn't go from nearly 3,800 watch time hours all the way down to 3,600 watch time hours," because it can fluctuate really, really dramatically. And you guys help to keep it constant, and you help it to accelerate. So sometimes I'll get on here and be like, "Whoa, we're getting so close." And it's all thanks to you guys, sincerely. We've been watching it like a hawk, and we've been trying to hit those milestones as much as we can to achieve monetization. But that monetization is a milestone that allows us to unlock so much more. Because let me show you again our Streamlabs, not our Streamlabs, our Social Blade page. If you go to Social Blade and you type in the Empire of Aeternia, you can see a range of yearly earnings that we should make once we hit monetization. Right now, it says our estimated yearly earnings could be as low as $25 a year or as high as $399 a year. So if we really pushed and we started doing, a ton of live streams, and we had a ton of people joining in and watching our content and participating with us, we could be hitting, potentially $400 extra a year that would do a number for us. Again, that's not nearly enough for me in and of itself to become a full-time micronationalist. That doesn't allow me to, quit my day job, but it does mean a lot for our ability. Right now we need to try to go to Microcon this summer. We're getting closer and closer to the date of Microcon, and that's something that is $140 per ticket for us to go, and we're planning on having 3 or 4 people going. So even at 2 tickets, $280, it's almost $300. That would be basically our year's earnings from all of YouTube. So this is something that really, really does make an entire difference as to whether we can pursue a project or not, whether we can, advance our nation in some way from month to month, from year to year. Every single, step that you guys follow along with us, every single time you guys watch our content for a longer period of time, you are helping us to accelerate Aeternia and proxy accelerate the micronational community, because we're always going to be here for you. We're always going to be a group that wants to try to promote the community and try to throw that out there. We may not always agree on the way to do it. We may not always have the same, we may take precedence on Aeternia's future at certain points, but there is always a perspective from us to try to learn from you all, to try and get better through cooperation. And thanks to you helping us and pursuing this cooperation, we're doing stuff. We're getting closer and closer to what we want to achieve. Again, we had 3820 the other day. We're at 3820. We had 1820, 1,820 subscribers. Now we're at 1,819 subs. Oh, hey, we just hit back to 1820. Thank you guys so much. That 1.82k subs instead of 1.81k subs means a ton to us. It really does help us to grow, and that shows us that we're getting closer and closer to 2,000. You know what I mean? When we share that on our social media, when we say thank you to you guys for helping us to reach closer and closer to 2,000, that is another big thing that boosts it up. It gets other people in the community to say, hey, they're getting to be a bigger micronation. They're getting to be more serious. They're pushing toward these larger goals. It gets people outside the community to say, oh shit, a micronation has near 2,000 subs on YouTube. That's awesome. That's really cool. You guys are helping us to pave the way for, again, a larger future for us and a larger future for micronationalism. Right now we have 11 viewers popping off. Just jumped down to 10, but that is a multiplier. Again, now every time we go through 6 seconds on this stream, that is a minute of watch time hours. Every time we go through 6 minutes with you guys in there, if we can keep 10 or greater, 11 viewers right now. Every time we go through 6 seconds, we're getting 66 seconds of watch time hours, so a minute and 6 seconds. Every time we go through 6 minutes, we're getting an hour and 6 minutes of watch time. So thank you guys. That is huge for us. That is, again, going to help us to hit that monetization goal very, very quickly, because when we end a stream, I actually screenshot the phone because it'll tell me how many watch time hours we're going to get from that one stream, from its live performance. And so the longer that we stay on stream and the more people we have actively engaged in the stream, the more that means we're like pushing toward it. And it'll take a day or two for that to take effect. Sometimes, we'll go through and we'll see like a dip down for a day and then it'll dip back up because of the effect of a stream. But it really does help us. We're getting to the point where we're like about to hit our goal, and it's thanks to each and every one of you hanging out with us. I want to go through and read a few comments so I can make sure I get to everybody who's hanging out and has been really patient with us. We're up to 12 viewers right now, so we're killing it. And you guys sharing the content, you guys liking the video is helping to boost that up. So again, make sure to like the video if you're new and you haven't done it already. Toxic said, I think a cool micronation would be one where the militias, like 3%ers and all that, are active, except for the extremism, of course. Yeah, that's a huge problem. Again, those militias are like incredibly extremist, and sometimes they're tied to like hate groups. So it's something that you got to be really careful of. Again, like saying certain stuff like that. If that's really what you support, that's what you support. But I would not condone that at all. And I would imagine if you did look into the background of some of that and the connection that some of those groups have, you may not support it either. So, that's one of those things that again affects the how people outside the community view micronationalism. Robert says, what's your opinion on tungsten rods? What do you mean by tungsten rods? Like, hit me up. Onyx says, has an Olympics thing for micronations. The United Nations of Discord has an Olympics thing for micronations. Very cool. Big Meme says, it's really just a computer job right now. What is? Space Force? Oh, very cool. Space Force, not Special Forces. Oh, okay. Very cool. Congrats. Good luck, and I hope you get to join the Space Force. Onyx says, for Micronations, Raz says, what's up? What happened since I left? We've been talking about the growth of the channel. Again, trying to get to that 4K watch time hours, trying to hit monetization and start to make a little bit of money from each of our streams and each of our videos that we make. So that's a huge help for us. Robert says, like rods launched from space, fake name. What's your opinion? Oh, asking fake name. Let's see. Telsania says, I'd say as micronations, we need to get into a micronational community that works together, innovate, and discuss ideas. Who's with me? I'm with you, Telsania, 100%. And I think that's for a lot of people, what these streams have been, what our Discord has been, what, for example, the micronational Reddit has been, what, Twitter and Instagram and now TikTok are. Like, these are communities of people who are coming together and able to share these concepts. Again, I am glad that we've been able to be a part of that and are continuing to be. I hope to make that better and better for you guys as we continue to push on. But that's something that's huge for us right now. We're trying to be able to, innovate ways for us to connect as a community and ways for us to come together and to, connect micronations who may have never heard of each other or would have never interacted prior is a great resource to have. And I'm so thankful that this chat has been a part of that in, pushing to be a kind area of the community, pushing to be an area of the community that doesn't gatekeep and that tries to hear people out. You guys have been wonderful. And again, I don't think you know how many micronations are in this chat right now who are thankful for you guys being here, because the older people who have been here in this chat longer, the people who have been veterans of the channel for a long time, are really helping to pave the way for these newer ones that are coming in and really helping to teach them and show them how you act in our channel chat, how you, connect to other nations, how you do the same in our Discord. They have really, really been a part of making this community wholesome and one that really pushes for micronations to be their best selves. So thank you guys. Thank you for being inclusive to people. Thank you for being understanding. And also, thank you for being like aware of mental health and stuff. A lot of the time we'll talk to micronationalists who are like, man, this sucks. Like, I'm having a hard time in my personal life. I'm having a hard time with developing this micronation, getting like depressing and stuff. And people are there for each other. That's beautiful. That doesn't happen in a ton of online communities. That doesn't happen in a ton of gaming communities. Sometimes it does, and it's a wonderful, beautiful thing. But it happens in this community. It happens with the Aeternia Discord, with the Aeternia stream chat. And I am incredibly thankful for you guys. Every single time I see like a positive comment like that, or somebody like supporting each other, saying like, you got this, like, I'm sorry, I hope everything's well, like my condolences or whatever for something, it makes me so happy. It makes me so proud to be a part of this community. Because I remember being a part of communities that were trash, that, I would hit up and try and join and try and like, hey, here's my micronation, you guys, I'm Aeternia and I'm a part, and they'd be like, we don't care, get away. You're stupid. You're lame. What? You're making videos? Oh, that's cute. Whatever. And they wouldn't support each other. You guys are supportive, and that's beautiful. And I'm lucky to be a part of that. Fake Name says rods from God is an amazing weapon system. Oh goodness. Toxic said, bro, AP gotta catch up on the chat. Yeah, I'm sorry, you guys. I am super behind. Raz says, I said we missed out on the gold age. Not at all. Talsania says, oh, we're not even entering the golden age yet. So it's something that, we still are trying to develop and learn about. Talsania said, the Gorthian Federation, do you mean get recognized by a country? Federation says, yeah, or the UN. Toxic said, they're just a macronation at that point. Absolutely. Tanzania says UN, yes, but like one country depends. Probably a yes though. Absolutely. Again, that's which country, what the reasons are. Robert says stop throwing up micronations together with literally the same ideology. Break out of the chambers. Agreed, 100%. And that's a huge thing, Robert. Again, there are a ton of micronations who are near identical. Talsania says, I'll be having my dinner. I'll be back. Sounds good. Thank you, Talsania. And again, you guys are helping us to like blow the stream up. Fake News says, AP, what are your thoughts on using Minecraft to model building for future endeavors? That is wonderful. If you haven't checked out our previous Minecraft streams, we did Minecraft streams where people like built a Minecraft version of Aeternia and like gave us ideas for different stuff. That actually is part of the concept for our underground dwellings. Again, underground dwellings are something that are, of course, a lot harder to build in person than in Minecraft, but that's something that gave us like wonderful ideas. We had people who built underground, like we had a literal whole like underground castle pretty much in our Minecraft server, and it was beautiful. We had like a throne room. We had a part that had like a little like dock for boats that like came in and out from like a little river that connected to it. All of this, again, some people in the micronational community would be like, oh, that's fantasy stuff. Don't worry, that's stupid. But when you're using it for getting ideas, when you're using it for connecting to your community, it can be beautiful and wonderful in a way that many micronations don't get to experience. And so 100%, that is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. If you have something like Minecraft at your disposal, use it. We've used AI Dungeon, you know what I mean? We did an AI Dungeon campaign, which is, again, just like a text-based adventure game that you run with an AI who's auto-generating responses. We played AI Dungeon, and we had a concept where we were trying to start out just promoting our micronation, and we got to the point where the micronation was like making money from selling board games and like developing like a whole bunch of crazy stuff. It was really, really cool, and it can be legitimately used as an effective simulation. Raz says, dinner? I'm only on lunch. Raz says, Minecraft could help? Absolutely. Also, different time zones for different folks, Raz. Remember that. Raz says, if you make all your territory a 1-to-1 scale, agreed, but it's still wonderful. Raz says, well, maybe not exactly 1-to-1. Absolutely. Robert says, Minecraft, Micronation Starter Pack. Melasius, Temeria, Aeternia, and Aeternia, angry barking, 4 or 5 kids setting up micronations with the same ideology right by each other, which causes micronations with opposing ideologies. I definitely appreciate it. And again, Robert, I appreciate it. The thing that I get concerned about, sometimes people like put Aeternia and Steveria like next to each other, and I understand why, but I really don't like it. Again, I was a fan of Stemeria for a while. I liked their development and their progress. I was a fan of Waywood. Waywood was the micronation that developed before Stemeria, and I was really a fan of them. They bullied us and like gatekeeped us, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like I wish I could continue to support that. I don't. And I would say, like I understand you guys having your favorites in the micronational community and liking who you like. But I would say I just wouldn't put us like together. Like it's I don't think Steveria wants to be associated with Aeternia, and Aeternia does not want to be associated with Steveria. Raz says maybe, but only where you want to build. Robert says pop up right by them. Toxic says, I mean, I know Psycholia often uses scare tactics, and I've heard they have agents under the micronations, which is weird and very underhanded. That makes sense. I agree. I don't know a ton about that with Psycholia. I haven't heard of it and I hadn't looked into it, to be honest with you. But I will say that does sound bad. Like I wouldn't have, like agents and other micronations and stuff like that. Like that does sound kind of strange. Gore says, it's going to be a good day when you see AP making a new TikTok. Hey, thank you, Gore. That means a lot. I appreciate it. We're trying to grow on TikTok. We got that 200. We're chasing after you, Gorth. We're trying to follow in Gorth's footsteps and try and reach to 1,000. So thank you so much for supporting us. It really does mean a lot that you have a larger community there and you're trying to help us to grow. It really is a lot. It means a lot. Toxic said, what happens? Raz says, I don't get it. Toxic says, like right now they're blacklisting me as a person, so now businesses in some micronations are legitimately scared of doing business with me. See, Toxic though, but that's ridiculous, and that shouldn't happen. That is like a gatekeeping thing, and that's something that happened with Aeternia and Stemeria. For a similar reason. Once Stemeria put out their condemnation video, people were like emailing me saying, "Hey, because I support Aeternia, like other micronations won't work with me. Because I support Aeternia, like micronations are bullying me. Like people are like online harassing and like stalking and like, trying to like figure out my address and doxing me and stuff like that. Like people don't understand how powerful micronations are and how much influence they have over their supporters. And it's ridiculous to use your power as a micronationalist to condemn another micronation, to potentially put another individual in harm's way because you feel like you needed to, spout off some stuff. That's so harmful. That's such a harmful tactic to do, and it's so ridiculously petty. Like that hurts people. It hurts people. It hurts the people that you weren't even directing it toward. It has a backlash effect, and that's so irresponsible to do. So I would say again, I have my own gripes. I have my personal espousments about that. But that all being the case, regardless of my personal experiences with that, you should not be doing that. No matter what micronation you are, I don't care if you're a friend of Aeternia, I don't care if you're somebody that I've supported in the past or currently support. If you are, condemning micronations and, saying like, oh, nobody should work with this micronation, nobody should do this with this micronation, you're harming the community. Like that's a problem. You shouldn't do that. That's a bad thing. It hurts the reputation of other micronations. It can cause your community to go out and attack other micronations and people. You don't know what the people who support you and listen to you are going to think about what you say. You don't know how people are going to interpret what you say. So that may legitimately have a harmful effect on someone's life, especially because you don't know what the individual that you're targeting or the community that you're targeting is going through. Like you don't know if somebody's going through like, depression or anxiety or whatever. You don't know if somebody's like having an active mental breakdown and you're making it like worse. Like it can be a really, really rough thing for the micronational community for somebody who, is bigger in the community or even just is recognized in a small like niche in the community to like call out another micronation. So don't work with them, don't deal with them, they're a scam, they're a problem. It's horrible and it's harmful to this community. Don't do that. We should not ever be doing that. That's a problem. And it's gross. Robert says, Edgelord, Emperor of Earth. So Toxic, I'm sorry that happened. Onyx says, I'm not. I would welcome you, Toxic Acid. Raz says, blacklisted. Why? Because micronations are gross and do that. Robert says, quite literally the starter pack. I agree. Toxic says, because they don't like me, pretty much. Raz says, why not? Robert says, slumlords are bad. Agreed. But it's not just slumlords. That's like landlords in general. Toxic said, well, they're quite liberal and I'm quite conservative, so I had the idea and thought I vocalized basically saying we should stop being imperialist and using said scare tactics. Agreed. That I don't think that's like a liberal or conservative view. Well, being anti-imperialist seems like a more liberal view, but that's interesting. Raz says land is game too. They didn't like that I called them out, so now I'm blacklisted. I feel like saying, I don't know. I don't know a ton about the situation. But says, what exactly is liberal and conservative? Depends on where you live, what the exact definitions of it are, but it's a political spectrum. Look up the political spectrum. Toxic Acid says political positions. Raz says, no, but what are they? What is the purpose? Look up the political spectrum, Raz. Onyx says, Toxic Acid, do you have a Discord? Robert says, liberal and conservative. You're talking about economics or social? It's a great question, Robert. Toxic says, the purpose is to define the political positions one has. Raz says, I can't find good info on political parties and stuff. Look up political compasses and stuff. Everybody says, is trying to describe that. Vincent says, AP, I have a question about Aeternian law. Am I allowed to create a nation for a story or comic? Will it be breaking the law? You're not. So you are allowed to create it for a story. You just, when you start getting to the point where you're like, okay, I'm like flying the banner of another nation. I'm, recruiting people in my life for like that. That's a little too far. When you're developing it for a story, that's fine, but the whole purpose of limiting that development for people who are our citizens is really to make sure that they're spending as much time as they're going to dedicate to developing a nation as much as possible to the development of Eternia. So the problem becomes if you're spending a lot of time developing other nations, whether it's online stuff, whether it's story stuff or whatever, that you're developing all these other nations and you're spending like hours and hours and hours and you're developing all these like cool pieces of information and stuff about that, but you're not actually putting much of anything toward Eternia, that's when it's going to start to become a problem. And that's something that I worry about. You know what I mean? The creative endeavors of our people are wonderful, and I think we should encourage that absolutely. So you are more than welcome to create any kind of nation that you want for a story. But I think if you start to become more involved with developing that story and the nation that's a part of that story over, assisting Eternia in any way, then eventually it will be a conflict of interest. Um, Torrance says, "Yo, what's up, Torrance? It's good to see you." Robert says, "Republic of Blackwater and Amazon sound like a bad cyberpunk." Agreed. Fake Name says, "AP is probably the furthest behind I've ever seen." Makes sense. We had a lot of topics to cover, and people have been messaging since the start of the stream, and we talked for like an hour without me reading chat almost at all. Toxic said, "Damn, I think it'd be neat." Robert says 114. Yeah, we're trying to jump forward. Fake Name says, "How much do flags cost?" Yeah, everybody's hitting up Vincent about flags. Vincent is making flags for Eternia. Well, for his own private business in Aeternia. Torrance says, "What's up, Robert, Raz, everyone?" Raz says, "Micronations need to focus on stability, law and order, economy, and other stuff before making a military." I agree, Raz, 100%. Torrance says, "Right, Raz." Robert says, "Torrance doing good." Vincent said, "Fake name, it depends on colors, how many symbols and size." Makes sense. Toxic Acid said, "Fs, but I think it's a military would be good to have in general, so it gives the people something to do other than a normal job." Yeah, but if your military isn't like actively fighting anyone or whatever, then it doesn't really give them a ton of difference. Also, you can just like create more cool social institutions and like clubs and stuff for your people to be a part of, and you can create more like goals and objectives for your nation that they could focus on rather than just being a part of the military. Robert says, "Love your commentary in the comments, Torrance." Absolutely. Big Name says, "My profile picture is the flag of Cosnaria. How much would that cost?" Torrance says, "You too, Robert. AP is the host, but the chat is the star of the streams." 100%. Raz says, "When the legislature is started, I will request for a military to be top 10." Oh, interesting. Vincent says, "How big? Size in feet and inches." Fake Name says, "Same proportions as the U.S. flag," and this is oh. Torrance says, "King Mania will have an official military and will recognize a citizen-led militia." Oh, interesting. That's not good, Torrance. Again, just a difference of opinion, but I feel like that's the wrong way to focus. Vincent says, "So 3 feet by 5 feet." Fake Name says yes. Vincent says, "I'll have to figure it out." Toxic Acid says depends. Vincent says, "I'm packing right now. I'll look into it when I went in the car tomorrow heading up to Georgia." Hey, very nice. I'm excited to see you, Vincent. Fake Name says, "But I can't buy right now, so don't worry about it right now." Raz says, "Every citizen will most likely join the military, similar to the legislature." Oh, goodness. Toxic Acid said, "I think some nations are on the brink of collapse and good secessionist micronations could set up shop there." That's a huge problem. I don't think secessionist micronations should be a thing. Like, micronations should not be trying to secede. Big Name says, "I was just curious." Toxic Acid says, "Conscription." Yeah, that's a problem. Raz says, "Why? That's why it's more like an organized militia." That makes sense, but I feel like that's the wrong thing for micronations to focus on. Vincent said, "But Big Name, it won't be more than $30." Makes sense. Uh, Vincent says, "White supremacy, stinky, smelly." Makes sense. I agree. Is gross, Vincent. Fake Name's got to go see you. See you, Fake Name. Thank you for hanging out with us. Torres says, "It's important micronationalism isn't presented as a secessionist movement, but rather a voluntary exodus." I get you. Raz says, "And treason, I believe, is either a lifetime or federal prison or a death sentence." Makes sense. Robert says, "Yeah, exactly. Secession looks crazy. And like a secessionist micronation is now a threat." Exactly, which is why you shouldn't support secessionist micronations. And you shouldn't, advocate for secessionist micronations. Raz says you would need permission. I think those should be like an antithesis of each other. Raz says you would need permission from state legislatures and yada, 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 but most successful micronations aren't self-sufficient. Makes sense. Vincent says secession is okay to a degree in certain circumstances, but for a stupid case, it's dumb. I agree. I think in most cases, the secession isn't a good idea. Robert says Molossia can turn into Ruby Ridge or Waco if a micronation is secessionist. Makes sense. I don't think Molossia would specifically, but I get you 100%. Raz says Vincent, I mean secessional movements forcefully. Got you. Terminated Onyx says imagine abortion bans. Couldn't be me. Uh, yeah, there's a big problem right now in the U.S. with that. Robert says, let's say Jomama Stan starts a military, doesn't pay taxes, gets a drug charge, and bam, a siege. Yeah. Raz says you would be either a traitor or rebellion leader, stripping you of many rights. Agreed. And you would go to jail or get attacked. Then this says secession, that's from a majority vote, is more like what I'm referring to, like community of people who want to leave because where they live because of beliefs and stuff. Sure, but even then, that's still not necessarily like an effective way to do it. Like it's not reasonable to do that. Raz says secession can be in many ways. Take old Great Britain colonies as an example. Makes sense. Robert says yes, but secession is very sensitive. I agree with that. Um, Massive wars can be fought over it. Agreed. Um, Onyx says I'll be right back. Onyx like Chromebook update. Makes sense. Robert says and then Croatia left and some ethnic Serb minority left. Maki says greetings. Hey Maki, it's good to see you. Also guys, we have 18 likes. Thank you guys for helping blow the stream up. You guys are definitely gonna help us to get to that. 4,000. We're at 3747 right now. So after today's stream, if we can keep it going for a while, we should be able to hit closer and closer to that 3,800 mark, and then we're getting close to 4K. Raz says, here comes another storm. Oh, goodness. Toxic said, did he just say you help to make it continent? What? Did I? That's a great question. Robert says, no, there's storm. Raz says, darned warming. Yep. Onyx is consistent. This said, me listening to the stream and packing. Hey, very nice. Thank you for hanging out with us, Vincent. It means a lot. Robert says, drive to Vegas, AP, road trip stream. That may end up being the plan. The only issue is with my work, that may be kind of difficult, but we'll see. Vincent says, Raz says, where are you going, Vincent? Robert says, Jason, Megan, Tiff. Absolutely, although I don't think they'll be coming with us to MicroCon. Vincent says, I'm going to, Tiffany will, but not Jason and Megan. Vincent says, I'm going to go to Georgia Saturday morning for my future residence. Yeah! Raz says, I wanted to create an association to gather information and help with global warming, along with other weather things. I think that's very respectable for a micronation to do, Raz. Vincent says, I'm packing my room, ready to move there. Very nice, Vincent. Raz says, nice, hope you're happy at the new place. Vincent said, just got a few more stuff. Then I gotta bring downstairs. Makes sense. Rob says, yes, we do need to preserve the environment, Raz. Agreed. Gorth says, Aeternia, have you checked my DMs? Because I've been waiting for quite a while now. Sorry if I'm nagging. Oh, sorry about that, Gorth. Is it on TikTok? Is it on Instagram? Is it on Twitter? Is it, is it on Discord? Where is it? I'll have to check. Also, just hit me up. Let me know. Also, what's a while? Like, is it, an hour or so? Is it like a few days? Because sometimes it just takes me a couple days to, get to stuff. Vincent says, I will. It has a pool. I can't wait to just jump in and be like, it's finally over. Makes sense. Robert says, did you see the Supreme Court case, EPA versus West Virginia? Yes, I did. That's really sad. The Supreme Court should not be rolling back EPA ability. That's gross. Raz says it would just be subdivisions to help with issues around the world, not just weather. Makes sense. Raz says that's what I was talking about when I said Supreme Court stopping more limitations. Yep. Toxic says, I said without the extremism, AP, without. I know, but still, it's hard to say, we can separate this group from the extremism it was founded on. I just don't think you should name drop those groups if you don't want it to be extremist. Gore says, hello, Talsania. Vincent says, yeah, but anyone who wants to put in flags orders, I'll be setting up this weekend. He'll let me know, and I'll start making them. Yeah, very cool. Vincent says, well, this week anyways. Toxic says, water. Talsania says the stream has a really huge delay. It's not that there's a huge delay; it's that I have a long wait in the comments. So it's that I'm trying to read comments right now from 2:14 p.m. and it's 2:35. So I'm just trying to catch up. Toxic says no, it isn't a delay. He's just really behind on comments. Yep, that's it. Gore says AP is just really behind in comments. Yep. Robert says his explanations are kind of really, really long. Yes, 100%. I like going in depth in these streams, 100%. Toxic said, LOL, stream be like, and then has a whole bunch of loading things. Raz says, how depressing was the formation of many nations? What do you mean, Raz? Toxic says, I get mental burnout and from micronationalism all the time, and that's why my micronation is a bit dead, but it's a price to pay for my own mental health, LMAO. 100%. 100%. We've had streams about that in the past, about mental health and micronationalism. You have to focus on being healthy and doing things for yourself. growing and making sure that you're okay as a person. Because if you, as the leader of a micronation, are not okay, your micronation certainly isn't okay. So being okay yourself and taking care of yourself and enjoying what you do, finding ways to continue that enjoyment and not make it feel like it's a hassle or like tiring or whatever, is really really important. Gore says it's Gore's first birthday this month. Hey, congrats, Gore! Happy birthday. Raz is very very depressing. Oh, I'm sorry, Raz. Telsarnia says, happy early birthday, Gord. Toxic Acid said, I think Ella Roach's like 5th birthday is next month. Hey, congrats, Ella Roach. Toxic says, I can't even remember my own Micronations birthday because it's been around a good amount of time. Makes sense. Gore says, thanks. I'm going to be doing some special events sometime this month to celebrate 1 year since Gorthio was created. We have evolved so much since a year ago. I completely agree. And Krognar TV joined in. What's up, Krognar? It's good to see you. They said, greetings from Krognar. We're glad to see you, Krognar. Krognar sounds like oh my goodness, what's his name? Not Thor. He-Man, like a country name off of He-Man. Welcome to the people of Krognar. Like it sounds really cool. I like it. What's up, Krognar? It's good to see you, and thank you for liking the stream. Thank you for subscribing to us if you haven't already. It means a lot to have you helping us to grow to again 4,000 watch time hours. Right now we're at 3747 out of 4,000 we need to hit monetization. So you guys are helping us to truck along every single time you're in the stream. Toxic said, nice. Robert says, my first stream was AI Dungeon. Hey, thank you, Robert. He said, I remember it was 2020. Yep, absolutely. Torrance says, AP, will micronationalism help me finally get a girlfriend, wife, or am I just too ugly? Torrance is memeing. Torrance is memeing right now. I hear you, Torrance. I know you're proud of yourself. First off, you can 100% get a girlfriend or wife. I believe in you. The biggest thing, again, I'm no expert on romance by any means, but from my understanding, from the time that I have been dating, from the time that I have been, meeting people and trying to find a partner in life, it comes naturally. It's something that, of course, you want to be looking and have your eyes open for the opportunity. But, and of course, you can do things as an adult like Tinder or, other social media apps for like trying to meet singles. But at the same time, a lot of it is going to be about being comfortable yourself. People say, how can you love someone else if you can't love yourself? And that I feel like is a trope that people use and people get tired of hearing that. But it is true. And another way to phrase that, I think a more accurate way to phrase that is that working on your mental health and feeling like you're confident and you're excited about who you are when you love yourself to that degree, you make it easier for people to love you. You make it easier for people to connect to you. Again, Torrance, I feel like you're memeing, but just for anybody else out there who is serious about that question, if you're serious about that question, Torrance, I want you to know that you got this, and you will find that special person. It's really just when someone, the person that you want to date or you want to be with is going to be somebody that you see something special in. There's going to be something that makes you go, wow, that person, that person's beautiful maybe, but also that person has like such a funny personality. That person's so smart. That person's so interesting. That person's so cool. Like anytime I'm with them, I feel like I'm like on an adventure or whatever. There's going to be something that gets you really excited about that person. And that's what needs to happen for someone to like you as well. They need to feel that excitement, that energy, that bubbliness. And a lot of the time when we're really sad, there was a year or two of my life where I'd gone through a really rough breakup and my mom passed, and there was like multiple things that happened like back to back to back. And so there was a long time for a period of my life where like a year and a half, getting on 2 years, where I didn't really date. I met some people, talked to some people, but I was so in my own head and I was so sad about stuff that I just did not see the opportunity. There were people I think during that time looking back who liked me and who were interested in me and who I would have loved to have dated. But I think one, if I would have tried to date those people at that time, it probably wouldn't have worked out because I wasn't in a good headspace, and I think I wouldn't have been attentive to them and to their needs and to really trying to engage in a relationship. And that's the hardest part, is if you're not in a good place in your life to develop a relationship and to commit to the needs that that person would have and to feel confident and secure in who you are with and without that person, that it's going to be really, really hard for you to develop a long-term relationship with someone or something very serious, because they're going to feel like they're either not getting what they need from you, or that they are getting that they're not getting all of the person that they want to get to know. from you. You know, that you may close yourself off to people, and I think a lot of the time that really hurts us in relationships and in friendships, even in business, connections, or in micronational connections. If we are not able to be open to people, if we're not able to be understanding of other people and to be accepting and to be non-judgmental, then we will always find ourselves in a position where we can't seem to get something right and we don't know why. And we keep questioning ourselves and we keep double checking and we keep feeling more down about ourselves. But the more that you support yourself and care about yourself, the easier that time will come. And so, Torrance, I'm excited to meet you one day. And I think 100% you will find somebody with no problem. Torrance says, Toxic asks, Torrance, yeah, that's how I felt. Like oh no, Torrance. Like it's a big thing. Gort says, our micronations will attract many girls. And then he throws the sunglasses on. Y'all are silly. Torrance says, serious question, Toxic. Torrance, I appreciate that. 100%, you're not too ugly. That's not what it's about. You know what I mean? Attraction is certainly a thing, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You're gonna find somebody, and more important than that, it's about finding somebody at the right time. Again, if you find the love of your life and you're not ready for that, then you may, have multiple good people who like walk away simply because you're not ready for it. You're not able to accept the role that they need you to be in and that you need them to be in your life. So it's work. It's a whole job, a whole commitment, and it's not easy. Robert says, I saw Drew Durnall play AI Dungeon and I was obsessed and searched it and saw your stream. Hey, thank you very much, Robert. That means a lot. Micronation of Tausania says, 1 million girls. Tausania, y'all are silly. Torrance says, I hope so, Gorth. Robert says, then I watched your 2020 election stream. Very nice. Robert says, then I saw Micronation War and fell down the hole, so Drew Durnall got me into you. Thank you very much. I'll have to thank Drew Durnall specifically for that. Also, I'll have to start finding more video topics that do that same thing, that get people down a rabbit hole of Aeternia. Tausania says, where are we on comments? 2 hours 22 222 is 243, so still not good because I just did the long explanation with Torrance. Toxic says around 15 minutes ago. Robert says Chad desiccates with Nation. Virgin doxes his fans and gets condemned at a microwiki page titled Feud. What? I'm trying to speed up now so I can get through the comments. Tassania says, AP, what would you say about a micronation that works hard and puts their citizens first? That's an admirable micronation. A micronation that sincerely dedicates to its citizens and really is trying to make something special for them is a micronation that's always going to succeed. That's a micronation that may not succeed quickly because they are putting their people over profits. They're putting their people over growth. They're putting, support of their community over acceleration. But that group of people is going to pay dividends for that nation. That's going to stabilize that nation. So every time the nation grows, if it is truly supporting its people in a good way, putting them first, then they're always going to have that same group of people who are there. Of course, plus or minus one or two, because people are always going to have life circumstances which cause them to come and go, but the majority of your people won't be rapidly fluctuating between joining your nation and leaving your nation. You'll have a dedicated group of people who want to help you grow and who want to help you push for goals. That was something that in Aeternia for a long time we had to learn how to cultivate, learn how to properly treat our citizens, and learn how to retain citizens. That's something that's hard and it's something that you don't get right away, even if you're good with people. So it's an effort, and it's something that's going to require consistent effort on your part and consistent change and updates. But when you do it right, it is rewarding a million times over because those people will dedicate to you and will be consistent and caring. Gore says, we put our people on their rights first. That's good, Gore. Tausania says, that's what we believe, and I think you're on the right track, Tausania. Torrance says, your citizens should come first. Agreed. Gore says, NAP, what's your opinion on anti-Gorth nations like Christoria and others? Again, I don't know about Christoria. You guys, multiple people now have mentioned Christoria, so it sounds like there's something happening there, and I'm not fully sure what it is. I'm not sure. What are anti-Gorth nations? Like Gorth nations that are against Gorth, I get that, but what are some of the values and principles of anti-Gorth nations? Are they just, spouting off? Like, I don't get the thing. Toxic says, also, since I was blacklisted, my friend's news site got removed from accredited sites on MicroWiki just because it's for my micronation and it wasn't even removed for a legitimate reason. I'm sorry to hear about that. Again, vengeance in micronationalism is a very ugly thing. Condemnations in micronationalism are a very ugly thing. They show weakness. They show an inability to, really engage in growth and in conversation with a micronation. It's I'm no longer willing to talk to you, so I don't want anyone else to talk to you either. It's shunning, and it's a problem. It's gatekeeping. I'm sorry that happened to you. Tausania says, I'm writing my declaratorial information about Tausania. LOL. I haven't written too much, but my little brother, aka the Prince, will record with his conversation with his voice because I got COVID, so I don't want to sound like. I believe in you, Tausania. Also, I'm sorry to hear that you got COVID. That's very scary. Please be safe. Please keep yourself healthy, and please make sure to take proper precautions to protect the people around you. You know what I mean? Wear a mask when you go out. If you have to go out, try and quarantine as much as you can. Try to make sure that you try to get healthy and check in with your doctor as much as possible, so that you can get on the right track to health, and also so that you can protect the community around you. Again, people who are immunocompromised and stuff are really concerning. I have friends who are immunocompromised, and so they live every day with a slight worry that, like, if I get sick, this could be a bigger deal. So um, please be careful and considerate of others. Thank you, Tausania. It sounds like from support of your citizens, you already are quite a responsible person, but I just want to bring it up in case. Robert says they insult their mom and their heritage. Oh goodness, Robert. Toxic said he uploaded an interview with me on my side of the story and got removed, and he got accreditation for removing bogus articles. Oh, I'm sorry. Tausania says absolute. Robert says Jomima Stan lives at 105.56.77. Get them signed. Emperor CGC. What? Ari says, hi, I'm on my tablet right now. Hey, Ari, thank you so much for supporting us. Also, if you didn't know, if you didn't see earlier from our stream, oh, goodness. Stream attack. I completely missed it, and it sure did straight up attack. It's a huge problem. Okay, let me see if I can fix it. Yeah. Zoom in attempt. 37, 47. Do you see that number right there? Ari, that's thanks to you and others who were super cool and helpful. 37, 47 public watch time hours. You see how close that little bar is? Do you guys see that? That's the closest it's ever been. We're nearly at 4,000 watch time hours, and it's thanks to you guys. If we can keep going in this stream, we can hit 3,800 watch time hours today. All we need is 53 watch time hours for the channel total today. That means if you guys keep pushing and keep watching videos even after this stream is over, we're going to try and get to close to 50 watch time hours just for this stream. But even if we can't get close to it, we can keep pushing if you guys have streams on repeat. If you guys have streams that you're watching, and just and just, recording after the fact, or listening to after the fact, that can help us push past that today. If we can hit 3,800 by tomorrow, then we will only have, if we average, if we averaged 50 views on a video, we'd only have four days, 50 watch time hours per video. We'd only need 4 days to hit monetization. If we, hit 25, then we need 8, and then this would be, trying to get to 3,800 would be adding up to 10. So we can really do this. Within like a week to 2 weeks, we can have 4,000 watch time hours hit right now. Of course, there are some things. We had some July streams last year that did pretty well. We're in like the 30 to 40 watch time hour range. So the quicker that we can hit this, the better, because those 30 to 40 watch time hour things are going to be surpassed and they're going to dip down really hard. So our watch time hours for those days will drop significantly and cause us some big problems with our watch time. So the quicker that we can get this number up, the better that we can do. So that involves sharing the stream, that involves liking, that involves, continuing to watch even when you head out. And that means a ton. It really does. You guys, like Ari, like Robert, like Torrance, like, Vincent, like David, like Steven, like Richard Taylor, everybody who has been regularly a part of these streams, like Onyx, has helped to get this to this point. Thank you guys so much for being here and being a part of this momentous occasion for Aeternia. When we celebrate this, you guys are on the wall of fame. Like, you guys are helping us to get there, and you are in the Aeternian history books for that. I really want you to know. This channel and its supporters are the thing that's going to help Aeternia to continue launching in a bigger and better way. And that's not for nothing. That's a huge milestone and achievement for us. It's something that we've been working toward for literal years at this point. This is something that is all thanks to you guys. And I am incredibly lucky to, again, have been a part of a community that is so caring and so thoughtful as to support us in that way. I'm trying to see if we can stabilize here. There we go. Okay, let's keep reading a few more comments. Uh, Gorth says, I get hate because my family came from the Soviet Union. I get called a commie. First off, Gorth, there's nothing wrong with being communist if you are communist. I don't think you are communist, but there's nothing wrong with being a communist. Also, somebody who's hating your family because of where they came from sounds gross. They sound like a weird nationalist. They sound like, somebody who is against foreigners or whatever they identify. That's horrible. That's gatekeeping. That's a form of like maybe not direct racism, but like it's nearing that. It's certainly nationalism, and it's a big problem. Um, it's a fear of people who are different than you. And Gorth, I am so sorry that that's happening to you. I'm proud to know you, and I am glad that you are continuing to represent your people, even if it's a heritage that comes from the Soviet Union. You know what I mean? Like, you can't help where you come from, and also you should be proud of where you come from, the people that you come from. That who you are and where your family comes from does not make you responsible for the sins of like the top people in the government of where you came from. A lot of the time that means that you were the people who were subject to any of the negatives that occurred there. But also, you can be proud of where you came from, and also, if you wanted to, you could be a communist. If you chose to, that's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? If you're a Nazi, that's a bad thing. If you're a white nationalist, if you are a racist, those are bad things. If you're a fascist, that's a bad thing. Being a communist is not inherently a bad thing. Toxic said that's stupid, LMAO. Robert says that's unfair, but he said true. Gore says, sup, Robert? Hey, very nice. Robert says, like calling someone from Britain an imperialist or America a neoliberal. Exactly. It's just weird. But even more than that, it's, you know what I mean? If you call someone from America a neoliberal, like that doesn't have as much of a sting. When you call someone like a commie, it harkens back to like, freaking, oh goodness. McCarthyism. I think that's the correct thing. Like, the Red Scare. And that's actually harmful. Like, we rounded people up and like arrested people in the United States just on the basis of like maybe possibly being a communist. Like having like thoughts in your head. Like were arrested and jailed for years for just thoughts in their head who were like attacked by people in their communities. That's the problem with that notion is like, oh, you're gonna like stoke fear around where somebody came from and what political ideology they have. That's a shame. You should be ashamed of yourself. Those nations uh, should not be so high and mighty to be talking down to others. That's gross. Robert says, hi, Gorth. Robert says, I admit that Gorth, and they're not going to get very far in what they do. I promise you, Gorth. You're doing well for yourself, and that's why they're hating. Um, Robert says, I mean for that Gorth comment to be part of the previous comment about the neoliberal thing. Gorth says, my goal is to succeed from the United Kingdom peacefully, but I understand why that's a bad idea. You're talking about secession. Yes, secession is not a good idea. You should be doing something else entirely. Again, in my opinion, instead of secession, you should be moving toward just being identified and recognized as a different nation. When you're talking about secession, you're talking about taking some of the land that was already a part of the United Kingdom before you existed and before Gorth existed, and claiming that you have a right to take it away from the people who helped to bring it there in the first place and who helped to make it unified with that nation in the first place. It's not that you can't do it. It's not to say that you can't work toward that cause, but that cause has some logical flaws and some ethical problems with it that I would not recommend you do because it won't get you popular support, and it's also something that harms the community around you. Like, if you're trying to benefit the people who are a part of Gorth and who are a part of the United Kingdom locally where you're at, those people are going to be really saddened if you tell them that, oh, I'm trying to take a part of the United Kingdom from you. They're not going to be happy about that. That's not what they want. Here in the United States, you know what I mean? Aeternia develops and works and grows in the United States. We're not trying to take parts of the United States. We're not trying to hurt or dismantle the United States. We're trying to help the United States. We're trying to get people who want to see a different and better United States an opportunity to grow and to develop something unique and then to come back to provide and help for their friends and family who are still here. Hopefully to encourage them to come and join our system, but to still allow the United States to stay exactly the way that it is for all the people who want to be a part of it and who are proud to be a part of it. So I think secession is just the wrong way to go for any circumstance. Robert says 2030. Ari says I did one like on my backup YouTube account. Also on my tab. Hey, thank you so much, Ari. That means a lot. Toxic said we're so far behind, no one knows what we're talking about. Cat in a box. Gore says LMAO. Torrance says Robert, more like 2024. Robert says yeah, the queen is near death and secession is rising. Oh goodness. Gore says it's on Discord. Robert says what could go wrong. Torrance says Robert, I was referring to the New World Order. Oh goodness. Uh, I'm trying to catch up. Toxic says that's not what I meant either. Robert says what New World Order? Robert says sorry, I need a red pill to explain. Stop yelling me, man. Gore says New World Order sounds like a Star Wars thing. Agreed. Toxic as I said, I meant how in one video they were just shown in a sort of way that's like as a separate group, not associated with it at all. Is he getting called? Fake Name says back. Hey, good to see you, Cussinaria. Toxic as I said, I wonder if AP is secretly a space frog master of the universe sent to Earth to inform us mortals that micronations, which will be huge in 2060. You better take that you better take that back, Toxic. You don't that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous claim that no one could ever prove, and it's not right. Why would anyone be a frog monster? Why would anyone be a frog? What do you mean a space frog? How could a frog exist in space? What would they need a special like helmet or like maybe some like suit filled with water to keep their nice skin moist? I don't know what you mean exactly. That's ridiculous. Why would a time traveling space frog want to come to the Earth for all of the nutritious bugs? I mean the gross stinky bugs that are here. I don't understand what the purpose of that would be. That's absolutely ridiculous. And I need you to stop all your conjecture right now on who would and wouldn't be potentially a space frog, because that's impossible. That's ridiculous. Um, Gore says possibly. Oh my goodness, you guys are 100% moving. Toxic said I really think you could be toxic. You gotta stop with these opinions of yours. It's not it's not appropriate. You can't do that. Robert says only something from space is hot toxic. Oh my god, this Robert's memeing. Manu says micronationalism helped. Versus, I wonder how tall AP is. I'm 6 foot. I might be a little over 6 foot. I don't think I'm 6'1", but I'm kind of at range. Raz is probably won't be looks are important. I am over 6 feet. Hey, Raz is taller than me, I'm sure. Toxic says, well, if he's a space frog, he's likely 1 foot 2 inches. Makes sense. Ari says, my micronation has mainly girls as citizens, actually. Hey, that's awesome, Ari. Congratulations. That's great. Toxic says, the human is just a shell. Bro, Toxic, what are you talking about? It's ridiculous. Ari says, and they're all my friends too. That's awesome. Fig Name says, gotta go again. I'll be back to keep streaming. Sure will. Thank you, Fig Name. Toxic says, trying to get to the comments, proceeds to rant about a good micronation. Agreed. Robert says, okay. Ari says, my iPod Classic makes chargers that don't work. Oh, I'm sorry, Ari. Torrance says, Raz, I'm 5'6", so that makes me superior. Oh, goodness. Y'all are silly. Torrance says, I'm pretty sure I'm getting shorter. Gore says, I'm 5'9", LMAO. Robert says, I'm 5'10". Ari says, ooh, 3747, let's try to get that 4K. Agreed, and we can do that today if we keep pushing. Raz says, haha. Raz says, I'm a lighthouse. Everybody says, so funny. Raz says, what happens when you reach the watch time? Monetization, says Robert. Raz says, will you make less streams and more edited videos? That's probably actually the idea, yes. So I would want to make some I would want to make some streams just to keep you guys updated on what we're doing. But yes, I'd probably make a lot more edited videos and less streams. Simply because, right now we're trying to push toward monetization, and that's a huge thing that gets us monetization. But as we continue forward, yes, edited videos will be the big way forward. Robert says, I love these streams. Raz says, racism is skin color, not nationality. Agreed, but that's why I said like nationalist. Muhammad joined us. Hey, Muhammad, it's good to see you. Salam alaikum, Muhammad. It's great to see you. We're now at 254, so we're starting to catch up. Alright, says, being a communist isn't bad, but most of not all communist nations in history are bad. Agreed. Talsania says, nationality is ethnicity, correct? To some extent, yes. Gorthian Federation said, yes, Muhammad. Raspberry said he lives. Ari said, yay, how are you, Muhammad? Muhammad retracted his message. Everyone said Muhammad. They're glad to see you, Muhammad. Muhammad said, I'm fine. What's fine, Muhammad? I understand that's relative for your situation. Telsania says, we're so happy to see you. Raz says, what happened? Robert says, I'm trying to get my friends to sign their ethnicity as ethnically American. Why, Robert? Why? We all have American ancestry. I don't think that's a good idea. Robert says a lot of things. Um, Gore says, are you okay, Muhammad? Raz says, more death. Also, what happened after the attack? Tassania says, we all hope you're okay, Muhammad. I'm just finishing my declaratorial information page. Toxin says, he lies. Ari says, AP is a space frog. His shock proves it. Gore says, AP sus. He's so flustered. AP's a space frog. He said nutritious. Tassania says, AP is the space frog Zorg. Vincent says, I'm 5'7", short. You're not short, Vincent. Muhammad says, I'm 2 meters and 13 centimeters. Hey, very cool, Muhammad. That's pretty tall. Ari says, I just got kicked out of YouTube after he said space frog. No offense, I think the space frog thing is a joke. It's a conspiracy theory. Raz says, me being over 6 foot, LMAO. Talks to the immediate shock as he finished reading the comment. Raz says, you're tall, Muhammad. This said, I guess good thing about being short, I can hide easier in hide and seek. Makes sense. Raz says, 2 meters is basically 6 feet. Absolutely, he's pretty tall. Raz says, silly US has different systems. Robert says, Muhammad is here. Robert says, I wasn't paying attention. Talsania says, what if AP is a space alien? You'll never know. You'll never know. Toxic says, we caught up with the comments. Toxic says, nah, he's a space frog. But wouldn't a space frog and a space alien be the same thing? Or is a space frog a frog from Earth that just went to space and then came back? Like, these are the questions. Robert says, wow. Ari says, yeah. Gore says, I have to go. I want to read a comic that someone makes about a space frog now. Telsania says, I forgot my height. LOL. Measure it. Measure it, Telsania. Also, Tiffany called me a minute ago, so I'm going to be right back and check on her. You guys hang out. Enjoy the stream. I'm going to play like free for profit music for y'all till I come right back. Try it out in the stream as much as you can, because it does mean a lot. Again, we're trying to hit those 4,000 watch time hours, and we're really close at 3747. So the more that you guys hang out, the more that you'll help us. Let me real quick play some free for profit pink for you guys. And see if I can't get back soon. I see y'all already dropped down to 7. You gotta get it. You gotta get it up. Ari says, guys, he's away. Let's spam space frog. Don't do it. Toxic said, I made a joke religion based on frogs earlier. I respect that. I think I remember that, Toxic. Was it there? Maybe, or was that somebody else? Somebody made one. I forget exactly what they baited off of, but there was one that was like a whole meme. Tausania said they are. Tasha said pretty cool. Everybody's hitting space frog. I'll be right back, you guys. I'll be right back. I'm gonna actually set this up so that it just loops. How do I do this? I forgot how I do this. How I make it loop. I forgot how I do this. Oh my goodness me. I'm gonna play it on like super slow-mo. Too slow. I'll be right back.
Your work-life balance? It's non-existent. You're never not working. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Indeed Instant Match instantly delivers quality candidates matching your job description.
Sophie, if you can make tacos, you can make a website with Bluehost. Build your site in no time and no coding. Talk about that. See how easy it is at Bluehost.com.
helps you work more efficiently, which makes accomplishing your work goals easier. Get full sentence rewrite suggestions so you can say what you mean faster. Use Grammarly to select multiple corrections at once. Instantly accept grammar, spelling, and punctuation suggestions with a single click. Because when you work more efficiently, you have more time for other things. Download at Grammarly.com. It works wherever you do. Try it today.
I'm back. Y'all thought I was gone forever, but I wasn't. Y'all thought I had dipped out. Hey, 7 viewers still, 19 likes. Thank you guys so much. It's good to see you. Thank y'all for hanging out. We're jamming to some slow motion jams. Oh my goodness, that's the plan. Oh my goodness, that's wow. We're doing it. How? Let me read on the comments. Okay. Ooh, first off. Ooh, hold up. There's a lot of stuff. Oh no, there was a Grammarly ad. I'm sorry. Everybody's memeing about me being a space frog. I see you guys. I'm going back up to the top. Everybody said ads help. I'm sorry. Torrance said I'm back. Why is John Cena hosting the stream? You didn't want guest appearances. I'm sorry, Torrance. And now it's funny because we had 7 viewers all the way up until now, and now somebody dropped down to 6. Toxic says, "Oh, ad. Hopefully he turns back." Sorry, I'm back. Micronations said, "Indeed, suck your bad jobs." Oh goodness. Raz says, "POV. They're both unskippable." I'm sorry, you guys. Toxic said, "Indeed, help more, but not a space frog anymore." I'm sorry, guys. I made you guys go through ads. Torrance said, Tosania says, "Torrance, we don't know, but AP the space frog is hypnotizing us with music. You know it." Ari says, Torrance says, "I believe it. Music is a propaganda tool." 100%. Ari says, "AP is a space frog. Y'all are mean." Toxic said, "We found out he's a space frog. Y'all better stop it." Muhammad said, "To the person who made unskippable ads, may Allah curse you." I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't realize they were unskippable ads. I was trying to race back in here, but I had to make Tiff some food. I'm actually gonna have to run back in there to get her food and deliver it to her. But that'll be a shorter absence. Torrance says, "I need AP to stream in the evenings again. The streams are better with a blunt and I'm not distracted by work." Makes sense. I'm sorry for not doing the evening streams. We get more traffic during the day. Like, you can actually check our YouTube stats to see like when the most people are active. So that's when I try to do it. Although if you hang out later on, we'll probably get today too, like later in the stream. Ooh, 20 likes. Thank you guys for hitting up 20 likes. That helps a ton. Also, again, we can, as the day gets longer, we'll be here, so you guys may be able to hang out with us in the afternoon. Talks to the guy who made the idea of ads apologized. I'm glad he did. Torrance says, "Muhammad, how does music equal harem?" That's a great question. Talsani says it just is. Toxic said, "I gotta go spread my frog religion, guys." Good luck, Toxic. Muhammad said, "Prophet said, but there will be believers who will say that alcohol, adultery, and musical instruments are permissible. Spread Islam, don't spread paganism." Makes sense. Tasani says music is harem. The Quran tells us so. Muhammad said like that comment. Torrance says, "Anyone else get high during AP streams?" Everyone said, huh? Raz says, "For your sake, I hope you're joking." Got him. Ari says, "A." Torrance says, "Of course, Raz." Uh, uh, Grammarly, talks to Grammarly. Torrance says, "Everyone skip Raz in the rotation." Oh goodness. Torrance is starting drug hype. Toxic said, "Ella Roach doing PM elections." Raz said, Telsani says, "I'm slowly processing that, Torrance." Rob says, "I'm back." Torrance says, "Classes, what's up, Robert?" Robert said, "Yeah, it's real good, Torrance." I imagine him saying it like incredibly passive aggressively. Torres says, "Processing what, Tasania?" Robert, "Skip Raz in the rotation." Oh my god, y'all are gatekeeping Raz from these drugs. Robert says, "LOL, Muhammad spread paganism, reject Islam." What? Why are you shitting on my man's religion? I guess he was shitting on paganism, but I don't think he specifically meant any one. Anyway, Tasania said, "The prince keeps saying how the alliance I am in is bad. Uh, I am honestly going to do a vote if we should break free from being a puppet state, which I say yes to." Interesting. Robert says, "Yep, keep skipping Raz. He's had enough already." Oh, goodness. Muhammad said, "Northern Alliance controlled territories have started to issue banknotes." Hey, congrats. I was curious about if that would happen with the rampant inflation you were talking about. Doctor said, "Maybe. Do you have a Discord?" Torrance says, "Robert, chill with the religion." Agreed. Robert, Raz says, "What humor is happening?" Robert said, "Hey, Muhammad, are you still having military losses?" That's a great question. Torrance says, "Raz caught a contact." Oh, my goodness. Muhammad says, "No, but we have civilian casualties, many of them." I'm sorry to hear, Muhammad. Wow. Went from a very joking part of the stream to a very serious part. I'm so sorry, Muhammad. Robert says, "So you only control two provinces? That's sad." Muhammad said, "We control plenty of provinces." Oh, congratulations, Muhammad. Toxic said, "Oh god, the space frog is back." I'm here, Toxic. Muhammad says, "No, only two." Oh, goodness. Okay. Not only two. Gotcha. Robert says, "What, didn't you say Lagar fell and you were down to two provinces?" Muhammad said, "Oh, and also four children that were killed, were beaten to death." I'm so sorry. Robert says, "So casual." Muhammad says, "I thought so, Robert." Ari says, "Gotta go see it." Thank you for hanging out, Ari. See you later. Torrance says, "AP can't hide the southern accent when he says y'all." Agreed. Makes sense. Toxic says, "For real." Torrance says, "See ya, Ari." Toxic said, so the frog religion structure goes as follow: the hope, elder toads, young toads, and the frog followers. Nice. Muhammad says, And this says read this AP. I don't know what it says. If you tell me what it says, maybe, but I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical to read that, Muhammad. I don't know what it means. Like I just don't want to say something. Uh, Hope is hot plus Pope, said Toxic Acid. Toxic said LMAO, his brain broke. I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand. Like, I don't know what it means. I'll be right back. I'm going to play this. Muhammad, if you tell me what it means and you're honest about it, I might read it. But I don't know. I'm concerned. I'll be back. People try and meme on me and get me to say, like, weird stuff. I'll be back.
Stop building websites the hard way. Bluehost has WordPress power, templates on templates, drag and drop ease, and 24/7 support. So build easy. That's Bluehost, baby. Learn more at bluehost.com.
FlexJobs is the #1 job site to find remote, work from home, and flexible schedule job opportunities since 2007. So, how does FlexJobs work? Well, FlexJobs is a subscription service for job seekers that features flexible and remote jobs. We have an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, and the monthly subscription costs allow us to fully vet and verify all of the jobs on our site. This means you, the job seeker, gets access to a safe and positive job searching experience. So let me explain how this process works.
No.
Our first
Oh, that's so gross. I'm sorry, everybody. I just I just realized. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, we're not doing that anymore. Uh, it is just Shahada. We say that before going to battle. Um, La 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 lahu Muhammadun Rashun la la. Interesting. Okay, very very cool. I appreciate you saying that. Tasani says back. Robert says wow. Um, Muhammad said, may Allah curse the guy that made ads in general. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. Robert says, may every God in existence curse these people. Wow. AP to the rescue. I was trying to. I Robert said, my hunky savior. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, I'm sorry. I like started hearing it as I came back down the hall, and I was like, that's not an ad, is it? And I was like, let me explain the process. And I was like, no. I started sprinting in here. Um, oh goodness. Muhammad said, congratulations, you're now a Muslim. Assalamu alaikum, Muhammad. I'm glad to hear. Uh, you converted me. Thank you. Toxic said, youngling toads are missionaries who spread the word of the frog god, and by the time the journey is over, they learn life lessons and become elder toads. Wonderful. That's interesting. Um, Also, how does that work? Like, is anyone who says that about like I feel like you're memeing. I feel like you're joking, but still, I do appreciate it. I'm glad to be supported by a community. Manu says, is it there's no God but God and Muhammad is the messenger of God? Oh, Muhammad said there is no God but Allah. Oh, interesting. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I don't mind saying that's fine. I hmm. Does that make you a Muslim though? Like, I understand the concept that like that would be a requirement for being a Muslim, but if you didn't adhere to like any other Muslim teachings, is that enough to like make you a Muslim? Like at that point, are you a Muslim? But if you don't follow any of the teachings, you're just like a bad Muslim at that point. Like what's the thing? Robert says, "Yep, you did. You got the shit out of me." Raspberry says, "Allah is God." Muhammad said, "He is." Um, Raz said, "Just in Christianity." Um, Tosh said, "That doesn't make you a Muslim." Yeah, I was like, "What does that? What does that mean?" Uh, Muhammad said, yes, saying Shahada makes you a Muslim. Interesting. So then, Muhammad, again, how does that work though? Like, are you if you don't follow any of the rest of the tenets of the religion, are you just a bad Muslim then? Tausania says, hey, EP, unfortunately, I have to go to manage some micronational stuff. See you. Thank you so much for joining us, Tausania. It means a lot, and I'll see you later. You've helped to support us a ton today, and again, help us push closer and closer to that 37, 47 watch time hours that we're at now, pushing above and beyond to get to 3,800. Again, we've been going for 2 hours and 39 minutes. We're going to try and go to 3 hours just so that we can really try and round it out and see how close we can get to like 20 watch time hours, maybe 25 watch time hours, because we really, really want to try and push for this. And we can get close. You know, if we got 25 watch time hours today, we'd be getting into the 70s, 37 70s, which would be, again, really, really close to us hitting 3,800 and then continuing to push forward. Toxis says, I think most modern religions believe in the same God, just they interpret different teachings and different um, and such differently and have different sections of their religion influenced by geographic culture, you know. Muhammad says, just have faith in Allah. I am just Muslim. I'm not part of any sect. Makes sense. Makes sense. Um, hmm, I'm curious though. So then I guess, I guess it's weird to ask about like nitty gritty details of people's religions. Muhammad says, I'm not Sunni, Shia, Umayyadi, nothing. Ah, makes sense. Gotcha. I'm learning. I'm learning about Islam, and I'm learning about Islam specifically in um, Afghanistan and in the region surrounding. Hmm. I'm curious. You're like teaching me a lot. I appreciate it, Muhammad. Manu says, I see God and Allah as two different names for God. I think that's how a lot of people see it. I had a professor in my undergraduate who was Muslim, and he would say that as the same thing. You know, he would talk about his religious beliefs, and he would say things like, you know, I say Allah, you may say God. They're the same thing, you know. And he would talk about that um, when the topic was brought up, and so I definitely respect that, and I think a lot of people feel very similarly. Toxic said, I mean, the Christian name for God is Yahweh. Oh, interesting. Towards the same toxic, same. As a former Christian, I couldn't ignore the similarities between the Abrahamic religions. There's obviously a true core to it all. Makes sense. Again, I think a lot of people feel that way. Manu says, Muhammad, yeah, that's what I mean. Toxic says, yeah, the core principle of it is all the same stuff. Agreed. And it all goes back to Zoroastrianism. I learned about that in a history class. In fact, a couple of history classes throughout my time in my undergraduate. You know, religions like early Judaism and Islam stem from Zoroastrianism. That was again popularized in the Middle East and was one of the first monotheistic religions, and certainly the most popular early monotheistic religion in and around what we now call the Middle East. Talks said, just may have different parts of the Southwest Asia to like North Africa region. Toxis said, just they may have different parts of the religion, specifically influenced by the government over the years and all that. Absolutely. Robert says, like Judaism and Islam are the same. I mean, Christianity. Absolutely. Christianity stemming from the books of Judaism and Islam. Um, Muhammad says Zoroastrians have killed the Prophet's family. Oh, absolutely. I think, you know, going to look at those groups trying to coexist, that's definitely not a peaceful history at all. But I do think, you know, from the historical record, that they did kind of stem from the same place. I don't know if that's like a controversial take. It may be, but I could be wrong. But I that was what I was taught in school. Um, Toxic said, like Sharia law, not sure if I got that right. I would consider a Muslim specific teaching of the same monotheistic God. Makes sense. Robert said, Judaism and Christianity are basically the same, plus Islam has Jesus. Yep. So does Judaism. Manu says, although I do notice that many Muslims still like to use Allah even when speaking in languages that don't necessarily use the name. Of course, just in the same way that you may use God even if you know what I mean. If you were speaking Arabic, would you immediately change to Allah instead of God? Like, or would you say God? You know, it could be a similar thing. Robert says so. They're Jesusists since they all believe Jesus existed. Interesting. Muslims said Muhammad said there are no similarities between Christianity and Islam. If you believe in the Trinity, which doesn't make sense. You believe in the Trinity, which doesn't make sense. Got him. That's interesting. Robert says, okay, that's hostile. I agree. I think it's weird to go to anybody's religion and be like, your thing doesn't like. No, you're just wrong. You don't make any sense. I think for the sake of argument, you should allow people to believe what they want to believe, and that should be fine. I definitely restrict encouraging people to support your religion, but we should allow people who want to believe other things to believe other things and to support that. Torrance says AP goes deeper than Zoroastrianism. Religion is man-made. The true religion is beyond man's comprehension, but our religions are the closest we get. But I feel like that's not a historically accurate statement. That's certainly something that you can philosophize about, and that may very well be true. But I don't think there's a lot of historical evidence that points to that, or at least any that I've seen. Robert says, stop this religious debate. Agreed, we should change topics. Torrance says, it's not a debate, Robert, it's just a discussion. But yeah, it's not the topic of the channel. We should kind of change topics. Toxic said, yeah, I was thinking about Judaism, how it comes isn't simple denomination of Christianity. Yep. Toxic said the first 5 books of the Bible. Torrance said, Robert, as a micronationalist, you must be able to have a discussion on various cultures and religions. Agreed. Manu says, calm down. As long as we don't get angry with each other, we can exchange some ideas. Agreed. Robert says, Torrance, I'm not a micronationalist, just a scholar of them. Yeah, but the rest of us are micronationalists, right? So we're doing it. Muhammad's memeing. Muhammad said, okay, let's change it. Israel is the new topic. That's not going to be controversial. No, not at all. It'll be fine. Yeah, let's just talk about that situation. Uh, Good take, Muhammad. Toxic said, I don't think anyone's angry. Torah said, LOL, chill, Muhammad. Jose said, micronations are very popular. I'm surprised Americans, it's okay with us starting our own micronation. Absolutely. That's good to see you, Jose. Thank you for joining us. I haven't seen you in the last few streams, so it's good to have you. Robert says, like it doesn't make sense. Fake Name says, that's also going to cause a flame war. Agreed, Custeria. You're right. For the last few minutes of the stream, again, we have basically 15 minutes left. I really just want to talk about everybody's micronations. I want to talk about, for example, even with Muhammad discussing how the Northern Alliance is, creating their own banknotes and doing things like that. Would you consider the Northern Alliance trying? Well, the Northern Alliance is doing something in particular that's interesting because they're not like trying to create their own country. They're trying to take back a country that they feel was taken from them. So I feel like they're a little bit different from micronationalism. But for the rest of us talking specifically about micronationalism, and maybe Muhammad, you can weigh in on this from the perspective of someone in the Northern Alliance trying to reclaim Afghanistan. How do you feel about micronations who are trying to develop a unique identity? Do you feel like these are, from someone who's outside, from an outside perspective of micronationalism, do you feel like these people should just be trying to change the politics of their home nations like you are, Muhammad? Do you feel like people should actively pursue creating new nations? What's the benefit? What's the concern? For all the micronationalists out there, I'm curious to learn, what is it that you feel like you're doing right now to actively connect the development of your micronation to the goals that you have politically? What is it that you're interested in seeing as a better future for yourself and for your family or your people? And what is it that you feel like you're working on now that is helping to make that a reality? Multiple things. Everybody jumped in really fast. Texas said, also, this may be an odd opinion, but I think what has happened is that we humans have developed religion as a way to feel safe with the belief of higher power. Even though I believe it was made by humans, I still, for safety, and such. I choose to believe in one of the religions. Makes sense. Muhammad says, oh, how we counterfeit them. That is secret. Makes sense. Robert says, that's quite the main reason for the religion. Muhammad says, I can tell you how we make the watermarks. Sure. That sounds cool. Taxa said, how do we make bills not counterfeitable? That's a great question. What's the hardest part of counterfeiting, I guess, there, Muhammad? Torrance says, Toxic, we're afraid of what we don't understand. Man created God in his image to understand the world around him. Toxic said, I don't know how one would do that since we don't have any holographic materials. Robert said, yes, he did. Fig Name says, well, I have to go for real, Aeternia. Aeternia, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Aeternia forever, Fake Name. Torrance says, it started with tribe elders explaining to the youth that the world without the tools we have today. Makes sense. I agree with that. Trying to teach people. As far as religion and as far as the connection there. Um, Jose said we need micronations a lot more here in the U.S. I feel if we do that, then people could have their own, especially in the community that we live in, especially in minority communities. So, Jose, if I understand you correctly, I think you're saying that in minority communities, micronations are especially needed because they give people, the power to make local change that they wouldn't have otherwise. It allows people the opportunity to build something for themselves as opposed to just hoping that they'll get the scraps left over by the rest of society that may not focus on helping minority communities in the way that we should. It allows us to take action into our own hands, so to speak. Robert says, yep, sun and moon god. Oh, interesting. Muhammad said, having any other god than Allah is shirk. Shirk. Makes sense. Tux said, Ella Roach uses aluminum coins, so I think that's a really good physical currency. Makes sense. Robert says, a long time ago in a distant lab, sun god created humans. Oh, interesting. Robert's memeing. Jose said, yes, that's what I'm saying. Uh, uh, Robert says, wow. Yeah. So Mohammed said, excuse me. Jose said, yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm glad to hear that, Jose. How do you feel like is the best way to start that out? You know what I mean? Like, what are the things that people in your community specifically need, and what is it that you feel like you can do to help shortly? Mohammed says that shirt cry about it. Oh goodness, Mohammed's memeing. Toxic said, AP, we need the frog religion. Makes sense. Robert, stop getting into arguments with people. Mohammed, people are gonna disagree with you too. It's the nature of talking to people on the internet with a lot of different opinions. It happens, but we can all hang out. Muhammad said, and then said a whole bunch of stuff, and then said, "Don't read this." I'm not gonna read it, but I do appreciate you hanging out with us, Muhammad. And the same thing with you, Robert. I would say again, there's an easy way to continue like developing this into an argument. It's harder to walk away and discuss other topics. But I did bring up a topic that, Muhammad, I was curious to hear your opinion on, and Robert, the same for you, discussing micronations and discussing the concept that, how do people outside of the micronational community feel about it? And two, what are things that micronations can do right now to actually make change and to help? Um, uh, Muhammad says conservative versus liberal. Interesting. Robert says, Robert's memeing still. Toxic says, I plan on making a new microwiki and micronational Twitter-like site. Ooh, tell me about that, Toxic. How do you make a Twitter-like site? Is it just like you're just going to code it? Is it something that you're wanting to host through your micronation? Is it something that you're wanting to do just in general, like just throwing it out there? Torrance says, I'd like more information, Toxic. Absolutely. It sounds cool. I'm also like curious to learn about it. But again, I would say like I don't feel like people talk enough about the starting principles and the starting goals of developing a micronation. Again, of course, everybody has the basics of setting up a foundation for a micronation. Oh, we're gonna get a flag and a name for our nation and maybe a currency and stuff like that. But what are your short-term goals for actually making a difference in your community? What are your short-term goals for actually benefiting the people who are a part of what you're doing? Tox says, I've done it before. I just plan on hosting it with a name cheap or something so it can hopefully take over MicroWiki and growth because I don't like MicroWiki's gatekeeping and all that. I respect that, Toxic. Mohammed says, your presidents and senators. So Mohammed, I feel like I want to ask about that. So I was saying, what do you think about micronations and how do you feel about them? You say your presidents and senators. So you think we should be trying to work within the political systems of our countries. We should be trying to elect different representatives, different presidents, different senators, instead of developing our own nations, if I understand correctly. I would be curious to hear, because again, I know people have very different opinions on micronationalism and what benefits and what problems there are. Mama said, read my comments above. Read my comment above. Conservative versus liberal, your presidents and senators. Oh, interesting. So, Mohammed, you're saying that there's like, that's a problem within our society, that there's like conservative versus liberals, and that's, a division in our society? Am I understanding you correctly? Toxic said, AP, I plan on running for mayor of my town in around 2 years. Do you think it's a good idea for micronationalists, and especially young ones, to try to run for macronational political offices? Of course, sure. I was talking to Tom, a much older micronationalist. I think he's in his 80s, about this concept and him running for, having run for political office when he was younger, local political office and winning local political offices before. Oh, interesting. Muhammad says, starts with Robert, your nation destroyed my country. Okay, let me go back and see if I can find that in just a second. So Toxic said, do you think I should run for political office? Of course, I think you should run for political office. I think that's a tough thing to do, and I wish you luck with it because it's never going to be something that, gets you a ton of. Uh, it's not going to be something that's easy or something that necessarily gets you uh, uh, the the most simple way to benefit yourself and your family. I think a lot of the time, political office comes with a lot of headaches, a lot of demands from people, and sometimes very little support, unless, of course, you start taking lobbying and campaign donations from outsiders, which can be a way to corrupt you. So be very careful. The heavy is the head that wears the crown, so to speak. So definitely be mindful of what happens if you win and what you're going to do to benefit your community. But as well, if you run on a platform that supports micronationalism, I think you may have an interesting candidacy. I would love to see that. Um, um, I'm sorry, Muhammad, I can't find your comment. I see Israel is the new topic. Then I see, how we counterfeit them as a secret. Then I can tell you how we make watermarks. And then you said, it goes down, goes down, it goes down. And then it says having another god other than Allah is shirk. And then Muhammad said a shirk, cry about it. And then you said something that you told me not to read, so I wasn't gonna read that. Yeah, so I'm not sure, Mohammed, exactly what your comment was. If you can repost it, I can try to reread it. Mohammed said, no, another one that starts with Robert destroyed your people destroyed my country, your nation destroyed my country. Torrance is toxic. If you want to run. Have a plan, talk to people with experience, volunteer in their staff, and learn some things. I completely agree, Torrance. Robert says, Mohammed, why me specifically? Other Americans are here. I think it's just because you're who he's having the debate with. As I said, I think it's a start because if we have a community that we live in, that community, then I'm thinking we could have a micronation in each community. I feel us minorities can do for ourselves, and it won't be easy. I agree that it won't be easy, but it sounds like you are putting together a plan to benefit your local community, and I think that's really smart. It's hard to do, but I think one of the things Torrance said a minute ago really hits on an important topic. If you're trying to reach out to your local community, talk to people who you know have sway in your local community. Talk to local business owners. Talk to, people who you know are popular in your community. People who you know have a lot of friends and a lot of support. People who run different organizations and stuff in your community. People who may have already run for political office or who are already in a political office. the more that you can get their support behind what you're trying to do, Jose, the more that you can legitimize what you're trying to do, the more that you can make it effective and you can grow it more quickly because you'll have the support of some really powerful people. Muhammad says young people should and must make change. I respect that, Muhammad, and I agree. Muhammad said, Manu said yes. Muhammad said, you are attacking my religion, my opinions, of course. Of course I will target you. And I agree with that, Muhammad. Again, it's you guys are arguing directly with each other, so it makes sense why you're both going at each other directly. Toxic said, I've already got a campaign Twitter and campaign manager with a fellow micronationalist I've met. We're good friends. Hey, congratulations. Are you running on a micronational campaign, Toxic? Robert says, my nation destroyed my country and didn't utter a single word about Afghanistan this stream. Robert said, and look, you were making bellicose. Stop like that. Robert says, man, that I consider would be hostile, quite frankly. Toxic said, I hate the stream is lagging. Part of it's just me taking a long time to read the comments. Muhammad said, I'm defending my honor, my prophet, and I respect that, Muhammad. Robert says, now you're attacking my ethnicity. What? Your ethnicity? Muhammad said, our prophet, our honor. Robert says, that's racist. I don't think it's racist, Robert. Muhammad says, I'm not saying you should be oppressed. U.S. government should pay for rebuilding of Afghanistan. I agree with that. Robert says, seriously, man, you're always making bellicose passive aggressive. Robert, what are you talking about? Raz says, gotta go. Torrance says, see you, Raz. Muhammad said, Muhammad, you quite frankly ever. What are you talking? Robert, that's unfair. That's not cool. Bailing yourself out with meh Afghanistan. He's fighting a war. Robert says, stop it. He's fighting a war. What are you talking about, Robert? He's trying to like defend his country and his people. I feel like you're way off base there, Robert. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. Like I understand you guys are in an argument and like you have the ability to like defend yourself in the argument or whatever, until the point where you start saying, stop complaining about legitimate problems I could never understand. Then it goes beyond that. That's ridiculous. Muhammad, I'm sorry that that's happening. I'm sorry that you guys got into an argument. Robert, I think you went a little too far. It's not racist what he was saying. He wasn't trying to be racist, I don't think. And also, you're saying, Afghanistan, like that's such a derogatory. Like that's so. That's not fair. That's incredibly offensive to someone who's watching people die every day for that cause, and who's actively like giving their life for that cause. So that's just inappropriate. Torrance says, AP, just tell me where to start with a topic for my first YouTube video. I'll figure it out from there. I don't think that's a good idea, though, Torrance. Like, I think you should do what you want to do. Mama says, of course, I'll insult you for my honor. I'm going to have to head out, you guys. I hear people wanting me, but I will see you guys soon. I appreciate you supporting us. Once again, we're trying to get to 4,000, so I will see you guys probably tomorrow for another stream. See you guys soon. Again, I'm sorry for the argument between you and Robert Muhammad, but I will see you all soon. Thank you so much for supporting us. And again, Aeternia forever. See you guys.